for the Athletic, and I was at the Philadelphia Stadium this evening to see Ivory Coast beat Ecuador 1-0. I was there with lots and lots of Ecuador fans, but we've all had to rush away from the stadium. There was a weather warning at the end of the game, and I've got a train to catch back to my hotel. But what I did see this evening was a fantastic game between two evenly matched teams. But there were some key difference makers, and one was Yan Diomande. I feel like the world has worked out who he is. I think there's going to be all kinds of question marks about who he's going to be playing for next season. He was Rookie of the Year, and that's not me going native. That's what the Bundesliga calls it as well. He was Rookie of the Year last year, playing for RB Leipzig. He was brilliant tonight. He absolutely destroyed Piero Hincapié in the first half, then swapped sides and did the same thing to Ecuador's right back in the second half. Apart from that, great nights, two good teams. Ecuador, they'll have another go, I'm sure. Ivory Coast, they've pretty much made it to the knockout stages. First time they've done that, it's their fourth World Cup. First time they beat a South American team as well. So I saw plenty of firsts. Yan Diomande, he's the one I'll remember.
Yeah, there you go. Matt, absolutely loving Yan Diomande. It wasn't that long ago that we did a show speaking to James Pearce, our Liverpool correspondent, because there has been a lot of interest in him. Not James Pearce, Yan Diomande. Of course, there is an interest in James Pearce as well. But yeah, I mean, people have seen how good he can be, Tim. I guess that's going to just only add to the price tag, isn't it? His performances in this World Cup.
Yeah, I've already seen him compared to El Hadj Diouf, but I think that's really really unfair. He looks more like the real deal to me. And yeah, one of a number of players we're sort of expecting to emerge throughout the tournament. And they were pretty good. It's a huge result for Ivory Coast. You know, when if they'd lost this game, and then you expect them to maybe lose to Germany, and then they're sort of relying on goal difference if they beat Curacao to get through. But Ecuador, haven't gone unbeaten for, was it 19 games over 2 years? Barely conceded a goal in qualifying throughout the like 18 matches in South American qualifying. So like I wouldn't have put them in the dark horse bracket, but certainly like you'd expect them to have a decent run in the tournament given the way that they qualified. So I know they hit the woodwork 3 times, and they'll be absolutely devastated with that. And it sort of reflects a poor start for the South Americans.
Let's switch to Germany, Charlie. Obviously, Chris was talking about Curacao and that great moment. What do you reckon the chances of Germany are of winning the World Cup in terms of the data? There's athletic data on this.
Okay, so this is like an Opta supercomputer equivalency thing.
So France are the most likely with 20%. Spain, 19%.
They're the most likely with 20%.
To win the World Cup. Yeah. 20% chance of winning the World Cup.
So isn't that saying they would win like 1 in 5 times? Surely their odds are way better than that.
Well, that's what it says on the computer.
Sure.
Okay, that's what it says. Don't try and
I know you didn't come up with this model.
I certainly did, and I cannot explain it at all in any way, shape or form. But according to this, and you can read it on The Athletic at the moment, it's part of a sort of a whole array of data that you can look at. To win the World Cup, Germany, just 4% chance.
They've got a 4% chance to win the World Cup.
Yeah.
Has that been updated after the
it has.
game yesterday?
Yeah.
Because I would say, having watched them, they've got a slightly less good chance of winning.
Why?
Well, but scoring 7 against a very willing Curacao defence. They played 4 at the back, which was a surprise. They were a bit, I wouldn't say they were naive. Look, they just went for it. They actually tried to attack and take on Germany at times. But that spell before the dreaded hydration break, when Curacao obviously score, they'd created a decent chance just before then. And they genuinely, for about 5 minutes, had Germany on the ropes. They were wibbly wobbling, and the hydration break came at a good time for Germany. So if Curacao are doing that, then that sort of exacerbates what we suspected about Germany, that they're going to have one of the most attractive and watchable attacks in the World Cup, but their defence looks a bit leaky.
And do you share, Charlie, Chris's feeling on that is what all the World Cup is all about? Curacao scoring their first goal, seeing the emotion, seeing the fans. Is that what the World Cup is all about? An expanded World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I think this game provides sort of ammunition for both sides of that argument, because ultimately they got hammered 7-1. So for those who say, why expand it? It's diluting the competition. They can make that argument. But absolutely, on the other hand, they had a moment. They had this incredible moment, a moment that not just Curacao fans, but neutrals like Chris will remember. So, yeah, I can sort of see both sides for it. I guess we'll see. I mean, Spain play Cape Verde tonight.
Yeah.
You know, if that follows a similar pattern, I don't know, maybe some people are kind of, or if at least if they get hammered and they don't have that moment, then does it just become a bit sort of soulless and pointless? But yeah, to be fair, that was one of the moments of the World Cup so far, probably the moment.
But I feel like we've had this argument even going back to, like, I don't know, like the 70s when, like, I don't know, Kuwait and Zaire were sort of, you know, making up the numbers. This is always going to happen until they have the 200-team World Cup that we know is coming if Infantino's still running the show.
It is true. You're always going to get random results and hammerings. And speaking of hammerings, Sweden battered Tunisia 5-1. And great story behind Yassin Ayari from Brighton. Just give us his family background, Tim, because that will explain a lot to people.
He's got one parent from Tunisia and one from Morocco. No idea which way around it is, though. Do you know?
I do know, yes. He's got a Tunisian father and a Moroccan mother. And you may well have noticed the contrast in celebrations.
Wow.
From his first goal, he was almost like, oh, no, I can't celebrate. And then he'd seemingly sort of forgotten by the end because it was a banger for the last one. And he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it. I mean, Sweden have got a lot of firepower. Are they very, very dark horses?
Well, they were the biggest unknown for me going into the tournament. Me and Nick Miller had to rank all 48 teams, which is an ongoing process throughout the tournament. We're updating that every day.
My son, who's 5, keeps asking me, who's winning the World Cup? And I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. He's like, well, Germany are winning the World Cup, aren't they? I was like, well, yeah, in a way, but I'll direct him to your rankings. This is really helpful.
Well, yeah, so Sweden were the hardest one to place because they had this horrific qualification campaign where they lost twice to Kosovo. They didn't win a match. The Nations League sort of parachute saved them. And then obviously Graham Potter comes in and you're like, was it all the previous manager's fault? Can they just not get the players to play? Because the squad is at sort of Norway level, and Norway are an official dark horse.
Yes.
And we saw against Tunisia, not just the goals and the win, but the way that they were playing. I haven't seen Isak run that hard, chasing lost causes, chasing down the keeper since he was at Newcastle.
Yeah.
And Gyökeres as well. They looked totally...
He's got to be in the 50s.
Yeah, so you're going to go 50 to 60.
I think it's
57.
I'm going 50 to 60. I'm going.
Yeah, are you all going in that because you think
60.
Deschamps is going to win?
50 to 60.
Yeah.
Experience.
Experience
is priceless.
Well, it's also the players that he has at his disposal more than Deschamps himself.
That's very true. Speaking of experience, obviously we know 3 players could make history this World Cup. You've got Leo Messi with Argentina, Cristiano Ronaldo with Portugal, and then Memo Ochoa, who we'll see if he features, obviously, with Mexico. He's in the squad. He was on the bench today. Ronaldo with Portugal, what a fairy tale finish it will be. Because you've got to imagine that this is Ronaldo and Messi's last World Cup, surely, right?
Well, yeah. Ronaldo, you never know. I think the guy always wants to push on.
No, this has to be it. This is it for them.
I know.
This is the final one for both these players.
Yeah, you think so? So all of these will be broken. They'll enter the 6-timer club, both of them. Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. We'll wait and see with Ochoa.
Ochoa, I guarantee you, if Mexico win their second game, they'll let him play. They definitely will play him.
You think just because of the record, though, or do you think
100%,
on merit?
Because of the record, 6th World Cup, in Mexico, I think that they'll do something for him and give him that opportunity to play a game, definitely.
OK, we'll see. All right, time now then to use the paddles. The first question is, will the most goals in a single men's World Cup be broken by a player? The current record stands at 1958. Fontaine with 13 goals we saw. Now it's a bigger tournament than ever, so will it be broken?
100%. We got more games.
Yes, Marco?
100%.
Nigel's
it's going to be
saying
broken.
no. Grell? So you think the Golden Boot winner will have over 13 goals?
Yes.
And who do you think it'll be, by the way?
I'm trying to remember who I picked. If it was between Kane or Mbappe, but between the two of them.
OK. And you're saying no, Grell?
There's a lot of teams. There's because the more teams, there's a lot. The quality's a little bit lower, and then there's one extra game. So that makes sense that you would think it would be broken. But 13 just seems high to me. Especially when now during the group stage you can manage your team a little bit more. You don't need to play the top players all the time. You want to actually get to the quarterfinal, the 16. You want to get to your best players fresh. So I don't think they'll be like playing every single game. The group stage games, you don't need to play all of them.
I agree with that. I think that there'll also be rotation as well as managers start to plan ahead. If you get the job done in the group stages, you're not going to play your top strikers. How many top strikers do we have nowadays in the sense of the number 9?
The Saudi Pro League, and that is the right back, Saud Abdul Hamid, who plies his trade in League.
Now, and also let's not forget that a lot of these players have played a lot of games already domestically in the season to go into this World Cup. I think 13 is a huge ask.
It's true, because we saw the longest Champions League season ever, didn't we, in the last couple of seasons? OK, what about the most goals in a single men's World Cup team? The current record is from 1954 with Hungary, who had 27 goals. Will this record be broken?
Hasn't been since 1954?
No,
That's
for
incredible
Nige.
to me.
No.
Marco, yes.
I think the game has opened up a lot. I think teams want to score. To your guys' point, there's more depth in the teams. They're going to keep going. Also, the first-place teams play a third-place team. One of the weaker sides, they can run up the scores in a lot of those matches. So, for me, it's a math thing. It's going to be yes.
27.
Whoever plays against Curacao, they could score 27 goals in their first game. It's possible.
Welcome to Haaland's Bank, Revolut, where he earns Rev points on his daily spending, then redeems them on airline miles and hotel stays.
And Fernando Muslera in the side. He did play against England, Muslera, in that friendly at Wembley in March. The back four, Varela, there will be a lot of dependence on him, and if Saudi are to have a good tournament, you fancy he has to have a good tournament.
We say that. I think it's also difficult to totally feel confident in knowing. I think there'll be a lot of players here who'll enjoy maybe the fact they're under the radar to many, and I think you have to respect the fact the Saudi Pro League has really taken off. A lot of real quality players have gone there, and many have spoken about how it's helped them improve. So I think they've got a mix. They've got a mix of experience, some younger players in there, but I actually think, you know, they'll not be fazed by this occasion. I think they'll actually quietly back themselves, and I think there's an expectation that they certainly want to at least progress out the groups, and we know then it's open for really anyone.
Two sides go into their pre-match huddle, Saudi Arabia to the left, Uruguay to the right, and you can't really look beyond the midfield trio for Uruguay, boasting great quality and seemingly three midfielders that will complement each other really well.
Certainly that's an area where they're strong. You know, you look at the names and it's players. I think Ugarte's another one, a point to prove, really. I don't think his Man United career has gone as he would have hoped it to be. We've not seen the best of him, certainly, and you know, now this is the biggest stage, so you got to turn up here. Bentancur, I think he was one for Spurs that was a real difference maker. I think towards the end of the season he was one that stood up. He's got a big character, he can get goals, but he can also control the game, and of course Valverde will be the one that plays furthest forward. Massive character, great experience, big game player, and these are the players that have to step up, because Uruguay, when you look at the team on paper, you think they've got a real chance, but then you look at recent results and it's been something that they've not delivered on.
Yeah, both nations have had a turbulent build-up, but as the countdown goes from 10 to 5 and soon to 0, their World Cups begin with, as always, great hope and great expectation. At the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, we are underway on BBC Radio 5 Live, also available via the BBC Sounds app. Saudi Arabia getting us underway, and they are defending the goal away to our left-hand side in their dark green shirts, dark green shorts and dark green socks, with Uruguay in their traditional light blue, white shorts and the white socks, going from right to left as we watch. And an early touch for 39-year-old Fernando Muslera. There is no missing him this evening in lurid orange with a few yellow triangles. Also one of several players wearing pink boots this evening. Early touch for Caceres, plays it back to Muslera, all this inside the Uruguay penalty area. The heat may well play a part, even though both of these nations will be well used to playing in warmer temperatures. But Rachel, you have played in America in your career. Just how taxing is it when the temperature is the other side of 30?
Well, it was brutal for me. In Scotland, we don't see temperatures like this, so it took a lot to adjust. It's more when you play in these places, it's humid. It's the amount you sweat, really, and that can vary person to person, but, you know, for some players, that's when you see towards the end of the game where it affects more players, because that's when the cramp starts to settle in. It can be really difficult to actually replenish the fluids. You need a lot of that really comes out of the preparation in the weeks beforehand. You know, you can really help yourself adjust to it. Like you say, these two teams, the heat and those types of conditions, they should be a lot more used to them. So potentially we won't see a massive factor here.
Uruguay play the first long ball of the game, inside right channel, dealt with by Al Harbi for Saudi Arabia. Uruguay wanted to take the throw quickly, but referee Mariani not overly pleased with where the throw was taken. We get our first shot of the Saudi Arabia head coach, Yorgos Donis, who only took charge 59 days ago. Saudi Arabia enduring quite a chaotic build-up to this tournament. They dispensed of Hervé Renard, who did a pretty good job with Saudi Arabia, masterminding that win over Argentina 4 years ago. But he was sacked after a 4-0 home defeat to Egypt, and in came Yorgos Donis, 56-year-old former Greece international, spells at Blackburn, at Sheffield United and at Huddersfield as well in the late 90s. He's a man who knows the Saudi Pro League very well, having taken charge of 4 Saudi Pro League clubs, most recently Al Khalij. So he seems on paper a very sensible appointment to guide Saudi Arabia through this World Cup. Early ball forward from the Saudi Arabia midfield, looking for the run of Al Burakan, tied it up by Fernando Muslera. And Rachel, we get our first glimpse of a very mean, fierce and already angry looking Marcelo Bielsa, who is sitting atop his cool box.
Yes, he looks very serious, as you'd expect him to, though, because this is down to business. It's a big opportunity to be big. A lot of expectation. This is a game that, you know, you look at the rankings, Uruguay should be comfortable within. But, you know, you just see here the setup from Saudi Arabia. They're going with the 4-4-2. It's quite an aggressive formation often, and you see there win the ball back in the middle of the pitch, immediately feeding balls forward. Didn't work out there early on, but you can see how direct they're willing to be. And, you know, so far Uruguay not, at the moment they've got possession, but not really managing to do much with it. Very disciplined setup so far.
Yeah, the opening 3 and a bit minutes in Miami have been dominated by Uruguay, but they have barely crossed the halfway line as Ugarte plays a ball through the middle third. Now Viñas gets his first touch of the game. Oliveira in the pink boots, ball with the outside of his boot to find Mateus Viña, who is on this near side, the left. Uruguay have plenty forward in this attack, but there's a reluctance to put the ball into the penalty area for now. Caceres and now Araujo far side the right. That's a clever ball in field, an opportunity for Valverde to direct some traffic in front of him. Oliveira and now Viñas level with the edge of the Saudi Arabia penalty area, onto his left foot, slides it across the penalty area, and the left foot drive is really well saved by goalkeeper Ola Weiss. That was well hit from Araujo, you're right, just on the edge of the penalty area, and his left foot shot was at the goalkeeper, maybe swerved in front of him, and he parried it to safety.
Well, he should catch it, really, but at first opportunity the goalkeeper's had to become involved, and he's just chosen safety. And if you're not going to catch it, then certainly the best option is to get it away from your goal, and he certainly did that. Palmed it well away off to the side, cleared the danger, but an opportunity now for Uruguay from the corner. First real glimpse.
On this near side, the left, Maxi Araujo, who won the corner courtesy of that shot, will take the corner. He was an assist monster for Uruguay in qualifying. In comes the corner, header at the back post and drops loose inside the box. No one in light blue to capitalise, and it is gratefully clutched by the Saudi Arabia goalkeeper Mohamed Al Awais.
Yeah, an opportunity there. Centre-back Oliveira up. Good header. It was almost another one when he was up too early, and it kind of then just hit him. No purchase on it.
Saudi Arabia loose as they tried to play out from the back. Uruguay giving them no peace in the centre of midfield. Caceres wins a battle just on halfway. Now Saudi Arabia can get their foot on the ball with a sensible pass back from Abu Al-Shamlat to goalkeeper Ol Awais. Saudi Arabia, who we know are a hugely ambitious footballing nation, but it can come at the detriment to some of their players, Rachel, who are struggling to get into teams that are now dominated by world stars who are heading over to Saudi.
And that is been something that players have spoken about as well. But I think even on that front, I think the quality has improved enormously, and that as a whole, you know, you talk about the standard of the league, how quick the game is. It's going to have got much better because the quality of players that go there. So that's a little bit of collateral damage, which of course as locals and for the national team you don't enjoy that side effect of things, but at the same time the day-to-day training, the quality, the appeal now to the managers and coaches that are going over there, you know, I think there's every chance that that league and this team are only going to keep getting better.
They have the ball now, do the green shirts of Saudi Arabia. 6.5 minutes played on 5 Live. And the BBC Sounds app, first opportunity to switch the play to this near side the right, but that's easily seen off by Varela, and Araujo sets off again near side the left. Tidy defending from Kanu, the centre midfielder, who came across Araujo and made sure his run was impeded, and Saudi Arabia have it in their back line once again.
He did really well, didn't he? Looked as though Araujo took a great touch round the corner and really accelerated onto it, and you thought this could be an opportunity breaking over the halfway line, but as you say, Keno came back, tracked the run, got across him and did really well.
Ugarte, and now Varela far side the right for Uruguay, who themselves have had rather turbulent build-up to this tournament, not least very recently when their flight from their base in Mexico to Miami was delayed because the airline company didn't have the right paperwork to get into Miami, so there was a 4-hour delay for Marcelo Bielsa's side. He was quick to play it down and said it didn't really affect us. Here's Abu Al-Shamlat for Saudi Arabia, whipping a good-looking ball into the penalty area. Ugarte, Manchester United's Ugarte, deals with that responsibly enough. Saudi Arabia pick up the pieces in midfield. Abu Al-Shamat again switches a play to this near side the right, and the exciting Al Juwair gets his first touch of the game, and now Abdul Hamid can slow things down, and now it's Saudi Arabia's turn to get really their first feel of the ball.
Yeah, really interesting. Look how just deep Uruguay have sat off the back four, really deep. See Ugarte just in front, but the whole Uruguayan team just happy to let them try and progress, and there we go, just sweep up the danger nice and easily. You can see there a low block, potentially an option a number of teams will try and exploit.
Al Shamat and Al Juwair linking up really tidily on the edge of the Uruguay penalty area. But that's as far as the attack progresses, and it's the blue shirts who can come forward again with the blonde-haired Varela, who only featured 4 times for Manchester United, had spells in Denmark and Russia, now very much at home in Brazil with Flamengo, 33 years of age now. Ball on halfway line, and Uruguay can have control of the ball once again. Ugarte sitting very deep in midfield. Rodrigo Bentancur in the pink boots. What a difference he made to Tottenham Hotspur when he came back from injury. Spurs looked a lost cause at times, and when their results improved under Roberto De Zerbi, it was no coincidence, Rachel, that it coincided with Bentancur's return to the side.
I thought so as well. I think he's one of those players, he can do almost every side of the game, and you certainly need that when Spurs were in the position they were in, but also I think in a game like this, you know, it's likely going to be very competitive in that central area, and I think he sort of relishes those types of battles, and he'll look to just sneak into the box every so often, get himself forward. He's certainly a threat in front of goal as well.
Al-Kabari out to Al-Harbi on the left for Saudi Arabia. All of this deep inside the Saudi Arabia half, so not really threatening Uruguay at the moment, albeit they are applying the high press that Marcelo Bielsa is so famed for, albeit this Uruguay side are maybe not as frenetic as some of his club sides. They do tend to play a slightly more relaxed game, which perhaps is what you need on the national stage when you're not with the players day in, day out.
I think certainly it's more difficult to demand that because, you know, the detail that went into certainly that Leeds side that we got, you know, a real great insight whilst he was in the Premier League with them in the Championship as well. But to do that international level, I think you do have to be a little more measured. And also I think often, you know, a competition like this, the World Cup, there's a lot more at stake. And I think sometimes it's just better to be a little pragmatic and pick those moments. There'll certainly be moments we see a similar style, potentially like this, as they look to press the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia all the way back to goalkeeper Al Owais, who clears long downfield. Mateus Viña meets it with his head, left back position for Uruguay. Georgios Donis has his arms outstretched and encourages his Saudi Arabia team just to relax and keep hold of the ball, which they have been doing quite well in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Uruguay haven't really got close to them, The press is a little bit laboured. Valverde wanted a little bit more effort from the players behind him, and this allows Al-Kabari to surge forward towards the edge of the Uruguay box, but another move that breaks down and another Uruguay clearance up to halfway.
Yeah, it was great play. Al-Kabari just found a brilliant hole in the centre midfield. Nice little combination on the right-hand side. In the end, the pass was fed through the gap. Al-Kabari had it. He got turned. Pass then just let him down.
Valverde in midfield. He plays it all the way back to centre-back Oliveira, who's just inside the centre circle now. Ugarte. All of this at walking pace, which, given the oppressive heat in Miami at the moment, is maybe not a surprise. With 11 minutes played, nearly 12, and you're with BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Later on today, is it tomorrow? Yes, it is tomorrow. You have to double check.
You're lost in days.
I am completely lost in time zones and games. 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, so in a few hours' time, Iran, New Zealand from Group G. Mike Maine and Leon Osman bringing you that on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. And then later on in the evening, we see Group I for the first time. France against Senegal, Iraq against Norway. France-Senegal at 8, Iraq-Norway at 11. 0-0, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Al-Juwair plays it back into his own half. And this is, Rachel, I think probably what we were anticipating early on from these two sides. They're not willing to take too many risks early on, and the ball has been, for the majority of the time, either in the midfield third or the defences.
It has been, and it's slowed down a little bit as well. I thought the first 5-10 minutes it was a little more intent involved, but both teams just enjoying a little bit of possession without needing to go too far. I think actually Al-Juwair is interesting. He peels out onto this right-hand side quite a lot. They try and create that overload right in front of us here. Potentially looks comfortable. That might be something for Uruguay just to keep their eye on. A couple of times as well, Viña, who's the left back for Uruguay, the left back, sorry, for Uruguay. He likes to go forward, and potentially just that gap he leaves is an area that Saudi think they can get in behind.
The voice of former Scotland international Rachel Corsie with us for this Group H encounter that is Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 0. Referee, I thought, was going to give a foul there. In fact, I don't think he has put his whistle to his lips in the opening 13 minutes, which is another indication of the sort of game that we're witnessing. Not too many challenges have been flying in. Uruguay with possession in their back line and all the way back to Fernando Muslera, who today equals Edison Cavani's record of World Cup appearances at a World Cup for Uruguay. 17 he's on, will turn 40 on Wednesday. His inclusion is a little bit of a surprise, given that Sergio Rochet played the majority of qualifying games, but I'm sure Marcelo Bielsa will have his reasons, sitting as he is still on his cool box in the Uruguay dugout. Al-Shamat has it in the Saudi Arabia midfield. Now maybe a little bit of space for Al-Juwair to operate in, just to the left of the centre circle. And you're right, Rachel, he's cropping up here, there and everywhere, keen to link the play together for Saudi Arabia. He's on the ball again now.
He is, and now on the left side, almost a little bit of a free roll in terms of in possession. Out of possession, they've been very disciplined, and he takes up that second striker position, but in possession, he's one of those ones that wanders, and that can certainly be a problem for Uruguay, because you never kind of know at times. You can end up in between. Again, they've found a little filtered ball in behind that midfield of Uruguay, which is interesting because the 4-4-2 Saudi Arabia, and they're up against that 3 in midfield, so you'd expect them to be underloaded in the central area. But a few times now, they've just managed to feed that ball through the lines, get someone half-turned. Technically, I think it's Cano that time, just his touch lets him down, but good little pockets.
Yeah, it was Kanu, and Masab Al-Juwair was very unhappy with his midfielder's touch. Had it been slightly more sure, then Saudi Arabia was certainly in a position of promise. Viña snaps into a challenge near side the left. No one really knows which way to give the throw. Assistant referee belatedly gives it Uruguay's favour, and no one seems overly fussed with that decision, so it must have been the right one. Oliveira smoothly across the centre circle. Caceres, pink-booted. Far side the right to Araujo. Give and go with Valverde, who skims it down the line rather aggressively. Looked a little bit too heavy for the Uruguay wingers, but Al-Tambakti coming across and concedes the throw, and Uruguay have it level with the edge of the Saudi Arabia box.
Yeah, and sometimes, you know, those balls in behind, sometimes it's worth just doing that, you know, turn the back line, and if you can get a little bit of pressure, you end up, then all they can do is put out for a throw-in, and gives Uruguay now the chance to play in Saudi Arabia's half and see if they can work something. Been a little while since they've had good possession. that high up the pitch.
And when both sides have possession, Uruguay are just carrying, only just the slightly greater sting when they move the ball forward. They've certainly had the ball in more promising areas, more so than Saudi Arabia, albeit there's not a great deal in it, with a very quiet 16 minutes that have elapsed in Miami. Ball on the left-hand side of the centre circle inside the Saudi Arabia half. That's a clever turn and spin by Federico Viñas, but the ball had too much pace on it. Mateus Viña had a little go, but soon relented, and it's out of play for a goal kick to Saudi Arabia. Fans are enjoying themselves nonetheless. We get a shot of a Saudi Arabia fan clutching the Jules Rimet trophy, his own version of it. Atmosphere seems a little bit flat in Miami, which is a bit of a surprise, Rachel, because this stadium is geared towards a good atmosphere. It's not open-aired like a lot of the other stadiums that are used to seeing tiers that are stretching miles into the air. This is a bowl, this is a traditional stadium, but it does seem a little bit quiet in Miami at the moment.
And potentially that's just the state of the game at the moment, because it is a little bit cagey. Of course, the fans as well be very aware of what happened earlier. And you just, you know, opening game, so many of these fans have waited a long time to get here. You just want your side to do well.
Al-Dasari goes for goal from range, not from a too dissimilar area to where he scored that wonderful goal against Argentina 4 years ago. He apologises to a few of his teammates, and there's a thumb up there to suggest that maybe there were better options, but that is the first shot in anger we've seen, and it's come from Saudi Arabia's skipper from the edge of the area.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity. There certainly were numbers forward. It comes from great pressure off the goalkeeper, trying to just clip a ball out to the fullback. They pick it off, do really well, and I guess if you're a forward player, sometimes you find you just want to get an attempt away, get your feel. That one not his best, but a good showing of what Saudi Arabia are. They're prepared, they're organised, they've got a game plan, and that was a great example of how to defend in those situations.
34 years old, Salim Al-Dasari, winning cap number 111, the Al Hilal star. He's not just a star of Al Hilal, he is a star of the Saudi Pro League, despite the number of big names that are over in Saudi Arabia currently. And there is the feeling for a lot of these players that this could be the last World Cup that they experience, which will come as great disappointment for someone like Al-Dasari, knowing that in 8 years' time, Saudi Arabia will be hosting the World Cup. But unless he plays deep into his 40s, then he won't be present for that. And there is a feeling in Saudi Arabia that the expectation off for this tournament because of the chaotic build-up. They do host the Asia Cup in January, and with the World Cup semi on the horizon, this might be the start of the cycle to get them prepared for 2034, and hopefully with a competitive team as far as they're concerned. Ball in the Uruguay half, as it has been really for the majority of the opening 19 minutes at the Miami Stadium on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Oliveira with his left foot invites Viña to come forward, just about controls that with his left foot, but now all the momentum is lost, goes down under Abdul Hamid's challenge. There's no free kick, says the referee. Game is at a stalemate as both players are on the floor. Then Abdul Hamid goes right over the top of Viña, and that will be a free kick for Uruguay, right by the corner flag. And Viña did well not to give up a lost cause there.
He did really well indeed. He just got his toe on the ball as it was sent over the top, and that just prevented it from bouncing and skipping out of play. And then actually I think, you know, defensively a little too hasty there, because Viña's in a difficult position. He can't do anything, can't go anywhere. He's facing the corner flag. He's then down on one knee. He just comes right over the top, and that's what the referee sees and gives the free kick, rightly so.
Which is a de facto corner, really, considering how close it is to the corner flag. Araujo is over it. Algier is the one-man wall. Araujo's free kick right into the heart of the penalty area. Attacked by Bentancur, headed back into the danger area. Caceres is there, just wouldn't drop for him. Half-hearted appeals for handball in all of that, but mainly from the supporters rather than the players. And Saudi Arabia can run it out of danger. The referee is now front and centre to suggest that maybe there will be a little VAR check here.
Well, it does. It comes off the hand. I think it's Al-Kambi, but his hand's by his side. He's doing it. That for me cannot be a penalty. It does brush his arm, but his arm's by his side. He's doing his best to keep it out the way. Very close proximity as it just skips up. So certainly a right decision, and we've carried on. So that's the decision they're going with.
Yeah, certainly the gesticulation from Maurizio Mariani, our Italian referee, suggested that he felt that it was exactly as you described, Rachel. Hands were by his side no penalty. That's a haphazard back pass that Fernando Muslera won't get on the end of. So Uruguay have won their first corner, and now Saudi Arabia have won theirs. I'm not sure "won" is the right terminology there. They've been gifted this corner because of that errant back pass.
Certainly a gift. That was really untidy. Viña just, as the ball bounced, got it all wrong.
Maybe Muslera 19 years ago would have got that, but at 39, he was always second favourite to keep that in. So Saudi Arabia corner, near side the right, Musab Al-Jawair is over it. Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 0. In comes the corner, and out goes the ball, courtesy of a strong Valverde header, but Saudi Arabia can still keep the heat on the Uruguay back line. It's with Al-Dasari, far side the left, level with the edge of the Uruguay penalty area, with Saudi going from left to right. Abdul Hamid with his left foot didn't really look as he played that hopefully forward, and Varela will nod sensibly back to Muslera, and the score remains Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 0. Muslera's distribution though is excellent, straight onto the boot of Araujo, who wanted to go forward, and when he played it back to Viña was a little bit disappointed that he didn't get it back. Instead, it goes all the way back, and Uruguay have it safely in their defence once again.
And you can see really why Uruguay haven't managed to find many goals in the recent games they have played, because they're another example there where they could have go forward. They choose not to. Back to the centre backs, back to the goalkeeper around the other side. All quite frustrating, really, to watch. And well, I say frustrating because you know the quality they have in the final third. So when you see them go sideways and backwards, you know it's so difficult. Certainly at a national level, teams are organised, teams are prepared. You know, even the best teams we saw today, Spain, difficult to break down, low block when teams are organised, get bodies behind the ball.
And as we've reached the midway point of the first half, we get our first hydration break, so the players all come across to get some drinks. There have been games in this tournament where you think, not sure a drinks break is really necessary here with ambient temperatures, air-conditioned stadiums. But I think it's fair to say, in 31-degree heat in Miami, that this is a hydration break that is very much needed.
31 degrees is very fair. That will be painful. Even though we've only played 22.5 minutes, it gets warm very, very quickly. Although that said, the intensity of the game here has been fairly steady, so I imagine the players are all comfortable despite feeling that heat. But you see there the ice pack at the back of Darwin Núñez's neck, and these things do help. I also feel it's only a couple of minutes, you know, as soon as you start back again, you're all of a sudden very hot and sweaty immediately. But you know, we've got to just accept them, and they are what they are.
Fairly steady is a very polite way of describing the intensity. It's not been free-flowing, as it was never likely to be, but even so, we have seen games that have suddenly burst into life, and let's hope this is one of those. Marcelo Bielsa right in the middle of the Uruguayan huddle, animatedly discussing something with his players. I wonder what he would have made of that first half of the first half. They've got into a couple of semi-decent positions, Uruguay, haven't they? We are seeing a replay of the Araujo shot from the edge of the penalty area that was parried clear by the goalkeeper. And apart from that, you're hard-pressed to think of too many other clear-cut Uruguay chances.
Yeah, exactly that. And, you know, just talking about Darwin Núñez there, he's the sort of striker, he's a willing runner, and he's a powerful runner. He'll make movements off centre-backs, he'll try and get down the sides, in behind. He's big stature, you can play it into him. And I just think, you know, I'm seeing him there in the drinks break, but otherwise we've not seen him. I actually wouldn't be certain he's touched the ball. No. And, you know, that's a real shame, because I think when you've someone like that, we know he hasn't played a lot recently, but get the ball in there, get the ball. You've got to ask questions. Alton Bakti and Al Amri, I have no idea if they're good centre-backs, because, again, they've not had anything to do. And I just think, in these sorts of games, I can understand being steady and measured, you know, maybe once you get into the flow of the half, but to have not really turned the dial in the opening 5-10 minutes, I always think that's a missed opportunity, because you can really put teams on the back foot and then control the game once you've really got a foothold on it.
No, the extent of Abdullah Al Amri and Hassan Al Tambakti's work in the Saudi Arabian back line has been a couple of passes to one another. They haven't really had too much defending of note to do, as Salim Al-Dasari pours almost an entire bottle of water over his head in these sweltering temperatures. BBC Radio 5 Live, Iran, New Zealand to come in a couple of hours' time in Group G. France, Senegal, Iraq, Norway, 2 Group I fixtures tomorrow at 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock respectively. And every midweek day we have World Cup breakfast as it is in New York, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, our time. Steve Crossman will be in a New York diner, joined by a whole host of guests to talk everything World Cup. Pierluigi Collina, we get a shot of the FIFA refereeing chief. Miami is the home base of the referees, and we get a shot of one of the more fierce referees in his time, and he's often held as the legend of the refereeing game, isn't he?
Oh, he is. He has to be. He's an icon.
Just because of the stare, mainly.
Yeah.
Darwin Núñez, 3 touches and 1 completed pass. Producer Nathan has been delving into the stats. He's had to have something to do because he's probably got bored of the opening 26 minutes. But there's an indication he has not been involved in this game.
He certainly hasn't been. I wonder just probably where on the pitch they've been, because I certainly don't think they've been anywhere near the final third.
And it couldn't have been kick-off either, because Saudi Arabia kicked this off. We're back underway, and the first action of the second half of the first half is a loose pass by Ugarte, and it's straight out of play for a Saudi Arabia throw. He has had a very interesting few months as Darwin Núñez since leaving Liverpool and going across to Al Hilal. He was the designated foreign player for Al Hilal, and then they signed Karim Benzema. So it was a case of, sorry, Darwin, you're not going to get a game now while Karim Benzema plays. And missing that amount of football and missing the number of games that he has, Uruguay not playing any warm-up games, Marcelo Bielsa preferring training camps rather than games. It's maybe no surprise that Uruguay's top goal scorer in qualifying is just finding it a little bit difficult to get up to speed.
Well, yeah, and in fairness, I'm not being critical of him in the number of touches, more so the fact Uruguay aren't going forward, but you don't like to see that. I mean, that's horrible for any player. Yes, it's, you got to do the work, you got to make a statement. We see him now, he's just chased the ball down. It appeared like a nothing ball, a simple ball to deal with, and you can see the power he carries. Even for someone who hasn't played games, he's obviously kept himself in really good condition. He's worked hard in training, and he's done a great job for his team. But once again, they've taken the throw in, and back they go, and across the pitch they go, and they've got to try and progress from these areas.
Uruguay actually had a decent throw that was level with the edge of the Saudi Arabia penalty area, won by some swashbuckling Darwin Núñez work, but then from the throw they go all the way back to the halfway line, and that is almost exactly case in point as to what Rachel has been describing in this game that is 29 minutes old. Still Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 0, and it is at the moment very 0-0. Valverde and Bentancur exchange passes. Better now Varela into the penalty area, didn't really get much contact on his cross, but the Saudi Arabia clearance is poor, lifted to the back post, Araujo back across, goal, and the diving header is brilliantly saved, and then the volley over the top by Ugarte. It was a brilliant diving header, Valverde in there, Viñas in there as well. Ella Weiss makes an excellent reflex save to keep it at 0-0.
Oh, fantastic save. Comes down that right-hand side, they get the opportunity. First ball from Varela, gets defended well. Lovely second phase into the back post. It's a diving header from Valverde. It's a brilliant attempt to sort of bouncing across the box, difficult for him, but he gets great contact. It's right at the goalkeeper, he should probably save it, but it comes at him pretty quickly. I think that's a great save. I think actually the referee gave a free kick, which may be a little soft in that back post area, but goalkeeper wasn't to know. Brilliant save.
First big moment of the game for Uruguay, and it came from good work on the right by Varela, and the diving header has Ella Weiss in the way. He's made a couple of saves now, 2 efforts that have been straight at him, the Araujo effort from range and the diving header. I think in the end it was Federico Viñas who got the header just in front of Valverde, and Ella Weiss with the reflex save to keep it at 0-0, and with half an hour played, hopefully that is the spark to get this Group H game going after the surprised result of the tournament so far. Spain 0, Cape Verde 0. Better from Uruguay. Here they go again, right to the penalty area, and the flag up to prematurely bring an end to what looked a good-looking attack. Viñas was offside. We'll look at the replay to see if he is. In fact, the replay we're seeing is not of that, or maybe actually the free kick has been given. Either way, it is a Saudi Arabia free kick.
It is, and we're just getting a replay as well of that foul at the back post. It's one arm on the back. You probably are always going to give that as a foul, but it's a risk as a defender, I think, to willingly accept that this, if I don't win this, I might just try and buy a foul instead. I think you've got to get up there early and just deal with it.
In a game where not much is happening, you'd feel pretty short-changed if that had gone in and the referee had ruled it out for a foul.
You certainly would.
Albeit he would have, of course, gone upstairs. I presume VAR are based in Miami. If that's where the refereeing team are, then I presume that's where the base is.
I have no idea about that. Full disclosure. I think it probably is, though, because they are a team.
They are, yeah.
So
they are a team. I did enjoy. Michael Oliver was due to referee Ivory Coast Ecuador last night, this morning, earlier today, whenever it was, and he was injured. And I did like FIFA's line of saying he'll return to full fitness and he'll be available for selection at some other time. I did quite like that turn of phrase.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Yeah. Eloise goes long, goalkeeper to goalkeeper. Muslera was playing sweeper keeper, but he was playing it in a rather congested area of the pitch. He did it very coolly to manoeuvre the ball away from danger. And Uruguay have it back and over halfway. Saudi Arabia 0, Uruguay 0. 33 minutes played. But Uruguay are just beginning to show a little bit more intent moving forward. Viñas and Viña exchange passes. Viñas, nicknamed the Tank, on this left-hand side. Here's Araujo. Only James Rodriguez with more assists than Araujo in South American qualifying. Back it comes again through the middle third of the field. Stationary for now. Mateus Viña once again. Nunez is calling for it inside the penalty area. He's ignored. Araujo, angle of the box. Again, Uruguay reluctant to get the ball into the penalty area and are now moving it across the field from left to right. Varela with the switch of play. Valverde with the instant control. Now sets off towards the penalty area. Ugarte, first touch just a little bit loose. Would have wanted that to have been slightly tighter, and it allowed Saudi Arabia to win the ball back, and they're playing a little too intricately. They've given it away. Darwin Nunez wins it back with the braided hair and the pink boots. Now there's a little bit of space. There are numbers here for Uruguay on the left-hand side, and Viñas is used. His cross to the back post. Nunez attacks it. Eloise comes out and wins the free kick. Much, much brighter from Uruguay.
Absolutely great play. Down that right-hand side, they win the ball back. They get the ball switched quickly to the left, and it was Nunez who won it back. And I just watched him. He just sort of floated. He delayed his run at that back post, and then he really attacked the ball. I thought it was going to be a perfect delivery as well from Viña. And you see there, the goalkeeper does really well. Nice and brave, comes out, clean punch. And then just the contact from Darwin Nunez. Definitely a foul, but you see them, a little hug after, picked each other up.
Yeah, a little Saudi Arabian hug with Mohamed Al Awais, actually playing in the second tier of Saudi football. He left the Saudi Pro League in order to get some more football, which he has achieved in the second tier. Saudi Arabia forward, which you've not said a great deal in the last 10 minutes. The ball is with Abdul Hamid, and now Abdul Al-Shamat. Infield it goes. Kanu's touch is a little bit heavy. Abdul Hamid continued his run towards the penalty area, but that always had the feel of an attack that was likely to break down, and break down it did, albeit Uruguay's clearance is not overly successful, and Saudi Arabia have it back. We have a FIFA update on the weather, which is rather exciting, or maybe not exciting, because FIFA say the match has entered severe weather mode due to lightning activity approaching the stadium, which I think basically means there's a storm on the way.
I think let's say less about that until we need to.
Here goes Saudi Arabia. Now that is a foul right on the edge of the penalty area. Moteb Al-Harbi from left back, finding himself right in the middle of the field. He was fouled, and Saudi Arabia have this free kick right on the edge of the Uruguay box.
This is a great area to win an opportunity to do something with it. Slightly just to the left. Certainly too far out to have a direct opportunity from here. I think, although now we're seeing it from behind the goal, you start to think maybe someone might fancy it. Al-Dasari round the ball.
It's what, a good 35, 40 yards out?
I would say so. I always think from this area, you know, especially we've not seen Saudi Arabia get into the box. That, I think, deliver something in, ask questions, that Uruguay backline. You might get an opportunity first phase, but can you keep it alive second and third phase as well? You know, I think to shoot from here, I would always, I mean, I'm a centre-back who normally comes up for these, so I'd be really annoyed if I've come all this way and you shoot and it's right into roll, whatever.
I know someone in the Saudi Pro League who'd be shooting from here.
He's not on this pitch.
He's not on this pitch. Al Jawair does cross, and Muslera comes and punches commandingly away, and that'll drop out of play for a Saudi Arabia corner. And he followed your advice, Rachel. It was a little bit too far out to shoot.
It was, but it was a nice ball. A little bit of disguise. It looked like he was going to do one of those Ronaldo-esque type free kicks, and just at the last minute he slowed himself down, just looked to dink it into that far area. But the goalkeeper, again, does really well. Both goalkeepers so far, no blemishes.
What of this Saudi Arabia corner? 0-0 with Uruguay in Group H. 5 live in BBC Sounds. Musab Al Jawair, near side the right, delivers. It goes a long way. Chance at the back post. Brilliant save, Muslera. Al Burakan with the efforts. It came to him quickly. His right foot shot was well struck, and Muslera makes an excellent save.
Unbelievable save. I mean, it comes... Is it Al Amri? It's Al Amri, yeah. It comes to him quickly. Beautiful chest control over the top of it, so it sits down quickly. Quick snapshot off the back of it. Goalkeeper with a strong hand.
The resulting corner is short. Al-Dasari delivers to the back post. Another one headed across goal, and Tabrakti is there. It drops dangerously on the 6-yard box. No one in green there to turn home. In the blink of an eye, the two centre-halves have had 2 chances. Al-Amri's effort and Al-Tambakti, his header, was more a cross than a shot, but there was no one there to capitalise.
Oh, so unfortunate. And they do so well, Saudi Arabia, to keep the first phase and second phase in both opportunities there. I thought it was just going to fall for Al Buraikan right in the 6-yard box.
Saudi Arabia's best spell of the game. Right foot volley was very optimistically hit from a long way out from Al-Kabari, and it skews off the side of his boot and out of play for a goal kick to Uruguay with 6 minutes to play. But the last 10 minutes or so, Rachel, we have seen the best spells of the game for both sides. Uruguay with a couple of chances, that header from Federico Viñas, and then that effort from Abdullah Al-Amri that was well saved by Muslera.
Some great chances and a bit more play, potentially the water break. You know, both managers have maybe said, you know, now we're into this game, now the nerves have gone. I need to see a bit more intention with what we're doing. You see intensity, ball's out for a throw, and quickly picking it up, getting it back.
Another throw from Saudi Arabia. Al Burakan on the edge of the Uruguay box, centrally positioned. It's all very loose and untidy. Al-Dasari emerges from the crowd with it, and then rather bizarrely went straight back into traffic. Uruguay battling to win it back. A stooping header is missed by Viña, and now Abdul Hamid has it for Saudi Arabia. Fouled by Ugarte. Referee plays advantage and points for another Saudi Arabia corner, and they are increasing the pressure on the Uruguay goal.
They really are, and Al Shamhat, they're doing really well on this right-hand side. Little combination with Abdul Hamid. We've not seen too much of Abdul Hamid. I know a lot's been said for him. He does play right back, so maybe that's been a little harsh, but two combined really well there. Couldn't quite get a ball into the box, but they have won another corner, as you say.
Abdul Hamid, the only player to ply his trade outside of Saudi Arabia, won the French Cup with Lens this season. Saudi Arabia have caused problems from corners. Al Jawair delivers the latest. It's another free header, brilliant save, and then prodded home. Al-Amri is there for Saudi Arabia, who strike first in Miami. The header from Al-Tambakti. Muslera made the save, and Al-Amri was there to gobble up the rebound and make it Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0.
Well, what a goal. The first save, I think, is a brilliant save from Muslera, but it just falls kindly. Al-Amri's the one. It's not even a reaction, he's anticipating it. You see, as it falls, he's clearly 2-3 yards ahead of his marker. I'm not sure quite who that was on the first run. You see it there, though, as he jumps for the first header, it's over him, and he just turns and shifts. the goalkeeper, it is a good save in the first one, but unfortunately for him, it just bounces off the ground right as it comes to his hands. And that means all he can do is sort of bobble it up in front of him, and it's agonisingly bouncing and 3 yards out. Al-Amri, though, right on top of it, prods it home.
He had so much space inside the penalty area. It was almost hard to believe how much space he had. The only player to react to the Muslera parry is the Saudi Arabia centre-back, who scores just his 2nd goal for his nation on cap number 44. And Saudi Arabia, who would not have been fancied in this game, are in front with 3 and a bit minutes to play until half-time. And that is exactly what this game needs.
It does. Big questions now for Uruguay. I would say you're probably in a position of you get to half-time without it being worse than this. Look at Saudi Arabia there for the last 5-6 minutes. I've really been the team asking all the questions, couple of opportunities before that goal eventually did go in.
Yeah, it had been coming, and here comes Saudi Arabia again. Suddenly the green shirts are flooding forward everywhere. Abu Al-Shamat controls, lifts it towards Al-Dosari. Too much on that. Muslera comes out to save. Will there be question marks over the goalkeeper for a parry that was straight into the danger zone?
I think that would be harsh, because I think when you see it first, we see it live, I thought a great save, because you think the first header's a good opportunity. It's just the bounce in front of him. It's so difficult for goalkeepers. You know, the body's behind it, and the spin of the ball as well. It was a whipped out swinging corner, so that as well, sometimes for goalkeepers, they can't always be sure of how it's going to rebound off them. In that one, yes, there will be people who ask questions. I just think you've got to be alive, and Al-Amri was the one that was quickest, and that deserves more credit for me.
The bigger question marks, certainly, yeah, will be over the defenders rather than the goalkeeper for allowing so much space for Al-Amri, who was the only player to react. And he prodded in for the first goal of Group H after Spain and Cape Verde drew 0-0 earlier. Saudi Arabia, as things stand, with still 2 more games to play and half of this one, will be topping Group H. And you'd have got good money on that at the start of play, I fancy. They're in a good position again here until Ugarte quells the latest Saudi Arabia attack. Muslera goes long downfield. Valverde wins a good header. Araujo challenged late and high, and the referee will give that and show Al-Amri, the goal scorer, a yellow card for that challenge. I think he's a little unlucky because he was legitimately going for it, but because Araujo was stooping with his head, more often than not, on the continent especially, you see that sort of thing given.
Yeah, you do, and really when we see the replay, he goes to get it with his foot and realises he's not getting there, so he almost then in the end actually makes contact with his knee, and it's sort of an awkward knee into the side of his neck, shoulder. It's actually not particularly pleasant to watch back in the replay. As you say, it's more misfortune than malicious, but it's very clumsy. Certainly a yellow.
And the goal scorer goes into the book. They do announce yellow cards to the crowd here, which I do quite like, because they do it in a very somber tone, which is probably the way to announce yellow cards. You can't get excited, can you? Araujo's free kick, back post, great header, terrific save, Olois. It was Viñas with the header. He rose brilliantly, great contact, and Olois made the save, and on reflection, maybe it was more of a camera save, but it looked impressive.
It was certainly a camera save, but a good one. But I think he maybe thought it was going to trouble him more than it did, and he realised, I can actually catch this.
Ugarte making good progress towards the edge of the Saudi Arabia box. Araujo around his man, dink to the back post. That was the plan. Al-Amri in the way, and then celebrates almost like he's got another goal. Turns to the Saudi Arabia fans, gives them the fist pump as we hit 45 minutes, and there will be... We've not seen the electronic board yet, but we are into stoppage time. 4 minutes at the end of this first half. 4 minutes that Uruguay will hope to profit from. Corner flashes across the face of the goal, all the way through to the far side, the right. Valverde delivers first time. Al-Tambakti deals with that carefully enough. Viñas has it, and back into the centre circle with Varela, who dinks it long. Great ball, opportunity for Araujo over the goalkeeper. Not over the line, but now the flag up on that far side. He did look suspiciously offside, and so it was.
ever so slightly, but what a ball from Varela. One of those diagonal balls, he plays it. I mean, it's ever so tight. I think you'd be drawing the lines if that ended up being the goal, that's for sure. Great timed run, I think, potentially. Lovely delivery. Good opportunity. So we just see the goal again. Yeah, I think that's a really awkward one for the goalkeeper.
Yeah. It's amazing how much space he has. You very rarely see on a second phase play of corner that the eventual goal scorer has so much space in which to prod into an empty net.
And I think his outswinging delivery, because typically the Uruguay players are all goal side, so as they try and attack the ball, they're moving away from the goal, and that's what leads to the little gap that opens.
Uruguay trying to end the half strongly, deflected cross from Valverde, which actually turned it into a more dangerous pass, but Mohamed Al-Owais in the Saudi Arabia goal gratefully clutches it and has the ball all in yellow, the Saudi Arabia goalkeeper. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0. We have 2 minutes of the first half to play. 4 minutes of added on time were shown, and we are 2 minutes into those 4 minutes with Saudi Arabia leading this game by 1-0. 60 in the FIFA World Rankings as opposed to Uruguay's 17. And Saudi Arabia only just qualifying for this tournament. Had it not been a 48-team tournament, they wouldn't be here. Such was the troubles they had during qualifying. They needed a 0-0 draw with Iraq to secure their place. The pressure is off a little. Home expectation isn't high, but maybe that is a dangerous thing for everyone else in Group H. They go to Spain next at Atlanta, then end in Houston against Cape Verde. And if they can go into the Spain game already with 3 points, well, they are already, you'd say, 3/4 of the way through into the knockout stage, with 8 third-place teams making it through to the round of 32. Mateus Oliveira for Uruguay in their back line. How ambitious will Uruguay be in the remaining minute of this first half in Miami? A reminder, we still have that FIFA weather warning that there are thunderstorms in the area. If there is a lightning strike within 8 miles of the Hard Rock Stadium, then we will be heading off the field for at least half an hour. And if there's another lightning strike in that half hour, then the clock resets. No sign of it so far, and we hope it stays away. Oliveira and Caceres. All this inside the Saudi Arabia half, but much closer to the halfway line than the edge of the penalty area. And only 30 seconds of the first half remain. This has to go forward if Uruguay want to get this equaliser. Forward it goes. Viñas' touch was heavy. Flag up nonetheless anyway. And if Saudi Arabia play this correctly, they will be heading into half-time with a 1-goal advantage.
Yeah, that one looked a little clearer in live play, and it was certainly offside. But down this, I guess, at Uruguay's left-hand side is where I'm finding a little bit more joy, and I think it's Abdelhamid takes up quite a narrow position a lot of the time, and the support he's getting from Al Shamat just maybe at times isn't where it needs to be.
Goal kick taken, and that will be that for the first half in Miami. A slow burner, but it certainly came to life in the back end of the first half. Saudi Arabia lead this game by 1-0. Abdullah Al-Amri, just his second goal for his country, capitalising from Muslera's parry, from a header from a corner. He was the only one to react, prodded it beyond the goalkeeper. Uruguay had been probably the more composed in possession. They certainly have the better of the possession stats. Didn't really create anything of note apart from a Maxi Araujo shot from the edge of the penalty area that was well saved by the goalkeeper. Also a header from Federico Viñas that again was straight at Al-Owais and made a good save. But when the goal came for Saudi Arabia, Rachel, they were on top, and based on the final 10-15 minutes, they deserved to be in front.
I would certainly say so, because I think you could argue Uruguay have just edged possession, but most of their possession, you know, the combinations between centre-backs and full-backs for me is overly patient at times, and it's cost them, because probably Saudi Arabia maybe only had a 5 to 6 minute spell where they were on top, but within that 5-6 minutes, you know, five shots, 3 on target. I think almost all of them came in that little small window, bar maybe one. So you know, for Uruguay, you got to have a bit more intention with how you play, and now you're 1 goal behind, and this really is a game for them. They've got to get something out of this. I don't think they can progress without getting something out of this. Well, they can, obviously, mathematically, but I mean, this has got to be a game they've got to get something from.
The camera pans around the stadium and there is a very bleak looking dark cloud that was ominously lurking in the distance, so we wait to see what happens in terms of the weather in the next 10-15 minutes or so. We saw a surprise in the Group H opener with Spain drawing 0-0 with Cape Verde. This is a surprise scoreline at halftime as well, Casa. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0.
Indeed, thank you very much for that, Chris. Yes, we'll be back with the football at the FIFA World Cup 2026 very soon. Ominous clouds aside, of course. But first, the BBC News on 5 Live.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Will the most goals in a single men's World Cup be broken by a player? The current record stands at 1958. Fontaine with 13 goals we saw. Now it's a bigger tournament than ever. So will it be broken?
100%. You got more games.
Yes, Marco?
100%.
Nigel's
it's going to be broken.
No. Grell? So you think the Golden Boot winner will have over 13 goals?
Yes.
And who do you think it'll be, by the way?
I'm trying to remember who I picked. If it was between Kane or Mbappe, but between the two of them.
Okay. And you're saying no, Grell?
There's a lot of teams. There's like, because the more teams, there's a lot, the quality's a little bit lower, and then there's one extra game. So that makes sense that you would think it would be broken, but 13 just seems high to me. Especially when now, during the group stage, you can manage your team a little bit more. You don't need to play the top players all the time. You want to actually get to the quarterfinal, the 16. You want to get to your best players fresh. So I don't think they'll be like playing every single game. The group stage games, you don't need to play all of them.
I agree with that. I think that there'll also be rotation as well as managers start to plan ahead. If you get the job done in the group stages, you're not going to play your top strikers. How many top strikers do we have nowadays in the sense of a number 9, traditional number 9s? There's not that many in the modern game now. And also, let's not forget that a lot of these players have played a lot of games already domestically in the season to go into this World Cup. I think 13 is a huge ask.
It's true, because we saw the longest Champions League season ever, didn't we, in the last couple of seasons? OK, what about the most goals in a single men's World Cup team? The current record is from 1954 with Hungary, who had 27 goals. Will this record be broken?
Hasn't been since 1954?
No,
That's
for
incredible
Nige?
to me.
No.
Marco, yes.
I think the game has opened up a lot. I think teams want to score. To your guys' point, there's more depth in the teams. They're going to keep going. Also, the first-place teams play a third-place team. One of the weaker sides, they can run up the scores in a lot of those matches. So, for me, it's a math thing. It's going to be yes.
27.
Whoever plays against Curacao, they could score 27 goals in their first game. It's possible.
OK, right. What about the most career men's World Cup goals that we'll see? Will that be broken? Will it be Messi or Mbappe? If so,
what are they on?
16 so far, is obviously the record that we've seen.
Do we know what Messi and...
I think they're far away. I remember seeing this. I'm going to go no, not this World Cup.
No?
No, I don't think they'll break Klose's record.
Yeah, no.
Even though Mbappe turns up.
What's Ronaldo on? Does anyone know? Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I will say that they will. I think that somebody will.
Yeah? throw a shot in the dark.
I think it's possible.
This is like his Foster bet.
It's so true. OK, what about the most assists then in a single World Cup? The current record is back in 1970. This is for the Men's World Cup, obviously, by the way. It was Pelé with 6.
Most assists, that's going to be broken. I see that, definitely. That's
why do you say yes for that?
Because there are some players that are better at creating chances for others. I think that is something that can be achieved, definitely, as an assist. You look at what Bruno Fernandes does.
I'm just asking, because they put no for the goal.
Assist is way more easier now to do than actually scoring goals. Let's be real.
The goals was high, 13. The assist is only 6.
6.
But hasn't been done since 1970.
Now the extra
makes me
game,
question
the
why.
Extra game and the other teams that are in.
But that was my logic for the goals. Anyway.
So you're saying yes, though?
I've said yes for all of them, yeah.
Okay.
Aren't you the positive guy today, eh?
He's the most positive person on the planet, and Grella's the most negative person.
What pills did you take this morning, Marco?
What about the fastest goal in World Cup history then? Will that be broken? The current record's back in 2002, 11 seconds. All of this is for the men's competition, by the way. If Grella was only playing offside like he did for Red Bulls to score the fastest
4
goal
seconds
in MLS
slower than mine.
But then he'll go to VAR to be ruled offside, so no.
Isn't that crazy, by the way, Grell, that you scored the fastest goal in MLS history, but you started offside? Do you think it still counts, or do you think they ruled it off?
It counts because the rules were different then. They didn't have the video review. And I started 1 foot offside.
Okay, true.
You know, being a soldier is but focus, right? What you want to know is, what's in it for me? I'm able to talk to anyone.
Of these brothers that we're going to see opposing each other at this World Cup. I think maybe jumping out off the page is certainly one of them, very, very talented. Desiree Doué and his brother Guela, who plays for Ivory Coast. Desiree Doué playing for France. Who's the better of the two brothers here? I think it's a bit of a loaded question, and a lot of people would jump immediately to Desiree, but his brother is certainly a brilliant player as well, Ian.
He's a brilliant player, but he's not as good as Desiree Doué as far as I'm concerned, especially statistically. And then when it comes to honours already, what Desiree has managed to achieve at such a young age is truly frightening. And not many people are actually talking about him being the hero for France going into this World Cup. His statistics back us up and say, hey, listen, he's scoring every other game, so there's an opportunity for him to be the match winner in every single game that he goes to play. And France are going to have to go through some real tough nations. If they were to make it to the final in my bracket, they go through the Netherlands, Germany, Brazil, Spain and England to win it, which they will. At the same time, his brother performing for Ivory Coast has been really special, I think, also for Desiree, because there's an immense amount of pride between the two of them. I'm sure there's a competitive nature, like me and Michael, my brother. But these are two brothers who are two incredibly talented players, and I hate to be the one to say it, but Desiree, to me, is an absolute class player. Might even be world class.
Yeah, when you get 2 Champions League back-to-back seasons and you've been a mainstay at PSG, there's a big reason why Bradley Barcola is doing, was he doing this? It's a big reason why Barcola is on the bench, is what I mean, for PSG. But I want to give some love to Guela Doué, because I remember watching him at the African Cup of Nations with Côte d'Ivoire, and he's an example of what I think we're going to start seeing in a lot of African teams moving forward from this World Cup and the next AFCON in 2030 in Morocco, Spain, Portugal, is when you make a decision to honor the background of your family, your parents, it has a ripple effect through time.
What does it mean? Can you explain to it in detail what it actually means? Because I'm quite... It's hard for me to understand it, right? Because you're in the same household and you've got 2 different nations here. One, obviously, of pride when you see what his brother's gone and done. I mean, what does that really mean?
So it's a great question. In every African household, there's this sense of African pride, but also African pressure, where every single parent or grandparent, they want you to honor and remember what came before you. The suffering, the sacrifices that parents or grandparents had to make to get the family to France, to get the family to Portugal, to Spain, whatever the country is. And so when they're brothers, and both of them play football, I've seen it with teammates of mine, former teammates, I've seen it with friends that played in Europe and in Africa. It always happens through households where one brother, usually the elder brother, goes to honor the background of the parent, and then the younger brother says, yeah, I'm English, or I'm French, or yeah, I'm gonna go play the big time. Yeah. So the leadership factor for him, the last AFCON, one of the things that I noticed was he brings a sense of calm, leadership, and also high footballing IQ to the Côte d'Ivoire. And so his success is going to be Côte d'Ivoire's success at the World Cup.
Do you know the pressure in my household? My mom is Scottish, my father's English, and I was born in the United States of America. So the pressure came from my mother, 100% to play for Scotland, to which I decided to go play for the US national team, which was
always
special.
listen to your mother. You should have been playing for Scotland. Let's talk about the Williamses, Inaki and Nico. Ghana and Spain, they're representing respectively. Who needs a good performance at this World Cup more, Michael?
Yeah, it has to be Inaki Williams. Just the injuries that kind of derailed what was supposed to be a just world-class season. We've seen him have world-class moments for the Spanish national team, obviously assisting in the Euros. I think he assisted on the game-winning goal of the Spain's triumph over, I think it was England, in the final. But for me, Inaki Williams has been an icon for Athletic Club.
Yes.
There is no Nico Williams without his brother going forward, and you don't see too many back players playing in the Basque Country. And so there always has to be someone who goes before, carries the torch, and he has really opened doors for his brother. But Nico Williams, you talk about the price tag that was set for him, the move close to Barcelona. Ian, you were talking about it.
Yeah.
This could be make or break for him at the World Cup.
Yeah, make or break. Real quickly, I just want to touch on an important fact that you made there. In Basque Country in particular, their story as brothers is unique, and if you get the opportunity, go have a look at it. There's multiple documentaries about it, how obviously it happened and how the decision was made to which nation you're going to represent. Listen, Nico Williams has got an immense amount of pressure because he's coming off the back of a disappointing season, where the season before he was one of the best players in world football, and we were all talking about him potentially going to Barcelona. That move looked to be the one that he wanted to make, where this pressure came from Basque Country fans. The Athletic Bilbao fans made so much pressure, they kicked up such a fuss, that I felt like he sort of felt the pressure that he had to stay, and he forced himself to stay. And we haven't seen the same player. Injury, obviously inconsistency, maybe too many games that he's been playing the year before with European competition for the first time as well. But I do think that he's also proven on the international stage for Spain how good he can be. This is, of course, someone who's looking up to his brother, who's his hero. Already stated. His brother is an absolute hero. Probably should have played more games, I think, for Ghana as well, right? No doubt. Injury held him back a little bit for the national team. Should have played more games for Bilbao, but didn't quite happen for him for one reason or another. But this guy, on his day, Adam, he's a superstar. He's an absolute superstar. So whatever you need to do to get this guy playing football, I think he can be the brother that shines brightest this World Cup.
And we must thank SofaScore for these lovely graphics that we're getting to use here on Scoreline 48 Nations. Normally it's just Ian yelling numbers at me and I don't have anything to back myself
Not
up. But this is
surprised
quite
at the
good.
6.56 on your side, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought we'd play Choose Your Favourite World Cup Brothers. And we've said you can have brothers that played on the same team or opposing teams. Michael, who do you go for? This is in history.
Do you mind if I flip it around? Because I know Ian always has a curveball up his sleeve. Or should I go first?
You can flip it around on me and we'll challenge our team.
Do whatever you want. Because I don't feel the pressure. You were teeing it up.
Listen, I
you were
thrive
teeing
on
it
the
up.
pressure.
You were like, you come to me, I'm going to throw a curveball.
You don't listen to a word I say anyway, so do whatever you want.
I thrive on the pressure of Michael Lahoud throwing the curveball towards me. I'm just like Judge, I hit it out of the park. And so do my brothers, right? I am going for Michael and Brian Laudrup.
Great shout.
The reason why I'm going for it, both played for the same nation.
Danes,
both scored goals at the World Cup, 2 goals apiece at World Cups as well. Obviously, Michael played at 2, Brian played at 1. Both were incredible, immense, talented individuals. Michael obviously spent a bit of time at Real Madrid, a small club called Real Madrid. Brian spent time when I was growing up at Glasgow Rangers, and I got to see him, meet him, and watch him train. He was special. I actually didn't know much about Michael because I knew Brian first. And then I actually learned about Michael and I thought, wow, he's a better brother. He might be the better player here. But these two created history for Denmark, and obviously having brothers like that compete at a World Cup, scoring goals at a World Cup is unique and it's special. And they were two that really stood out to me on a personal front when I was growing up.
Great shout.
I have memories of 1998 against Nigeria, where one of the Laudrup brothers scores and just does this.
Yes. that was Brian.
Man, I almost just blew out my back in this one.
It's
okay, so
we've waited for it. This better be good.
So this is going to be really good because there's a song after these two brothers. Yeah. Yep. You know how it goes. So Yaya Toure and Kolo Toure. And
you're talking about Toure?
Yeah, I actually got to play against Yaya Toure, and I can guarantee you, his bum's this big, his short's this big, his footballing IQ is up here. What a world-class player he was. And when you go through the Premier League annals or the annals of world football and maybe even African football, I think he's one of the most underappreciated footballers that we don't talk about enough. You think of the 20-goal seasons he had with Manchester City, it's one thing, but I played against him the campaign where they won the African Cup of Nations. And that Côte d'Ivoire side, Didier Drogba had just retired. And so the question of where the goal is going to come from, who's going to be our leader, and Yaya Toure stepped up, and I had to go as Kolo Toure, because he's his crazy other brother. Invincible winner, and just one of the big characters of English football. So those are the two that stick out to me.
Well, we've had bums, cojones. Where we go next?
I dare you.
Leading at half-time in their 3 group matches in 1994. This their 7th World Cup, and they've only ever reached the knockout stages once, and that was in 1994. So they're in a position of strength going into this second half. Former Scotland international Rachel Corsie. So the impetus very much on Uruguay, who are preparing a couple of half-time changes. And interestingly, Darwin Nunez is one of those players to be withdrawn. Matias Vinha is the other player to go, and coming on in their place is Agustin Canobio, who played in the friendly against England, the Fluminense right winger, and also Juan Manuel Sanabria, who plays in the US for Real Salt Lake. Interesting changes for Uruguay, but maybe not a surprise that Marcelo Bielsa has acted so soon.
Yeah, and I think it'll be Federico Vinhas who'll take up that number 9 position, because I'm pretty certain in saying Canobio will go and be one of those wide players and look to be a little more direct from the side. But it's, you know, it's a big decision, and also I think an understandable one from Bielsa, because his side haven't asked enough questions, they haven't looked dangerous enough, and when you're a player in the pitch, and especially in the attacking third, you got to dare to do things. You got to get at people, get balls in the box. The left back, I wonder if that's maybe a little issue, because that seems a more unusual change, unless it's about, you know, can you actually go and put someone a little more attacking at left back and almost end up with a double winger type situation and really be aggressive. So interesting to just see how this one settles in as we go.
It's only Juan Manuel Sanabria's 6th cap, got his first call-up last year, 26 years old. Technically excellent, says Marcelo Bielsa. No one at the moment has more rhythm than him, so maybe not a surprise to see him at the start of this second half that is underway on BBC Radio 5 Live, and also available via the BBC Sounds app. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0. Uruguay in their light blue shirts, white shorts and white socks, defending the goal away to our left, with Saudi Arabia all in dark green, going from right to left. And with that 1-goal advantage, does their game plan now change? Here is Canobio's first touch of the ball, 14 on his back, near side the right. Backwards of square it comes, and this was symptomatic really of Uruguay in that first half. So many opportunities squandered when they went back rather than forwards. Terrific ball across goal, and it was Vinhas' header producing another good save from Mohamed Al-Awais. That's probably the best save Al-Awais has had to make, and very nearly Uruguay level in the opening minute of this second half.
Brilliant ball. Great delivery in the front near area. Vinhas, great run across the face, just glances it.
Here come Uruguay again. Valverde's making great progress into the box. To his credit, he stayed on his feet when he could easily have gone down. Now he asks the question to the referee to say, is that not a penalty? And Maurizio Mariani, the Italian referee, tells him that it wasn't. It will, of course, be getting checked in the background by VAR. This is a strong Uruguay start to this second half. Canobio's ball into the front post. Vinhas controls again, now goes down under the challenge of El Tambactri. Goalkeeper and defender then with a bit of miscommunication. Referee blows his whistle because the offside flag is up on this near side. But we've seen more energy and intensity from Uruguay in the opening minute, 50 seconds of the second half, than we did almost in the entirety of the first.
Absolutely, and just getting another look again at that ball into the box. I mean, probably you could be really critical and say Vinhas was just in there too early, which means the angle of the header does so well. He glances it, it's going into that far corner. Such a difficult angle, and it gives the goalkeeper probably just an extra half second, because he's just that extra yard in front of the near post. Travels a little further, he gets his hand to it, does really well up and over any attackers that are in the area as well.
Goals have been the main issue for Marcelo Bielsa during his 3 years in charge. Saudi Arabia moving forward, left-hand side of the penalty area. That one's dealt with by Caceres and out of play for a Saudi Arabia throw. They lack the scoring power of old when they had the likes of Luis Suarez and Edison Cavani. Cavani retired after the Qatar World Cup 4 years ago. Suarez fell out with Bielsa, two fairly combustible characters, so maybe that's not massively surprising. Effectively retired last year and then said, oh, the World Cup, you say? Yeah, fancy a bit of that. But unsurprisingly, Marcelo Bielsa was having absolutely none of that and didn't call him up.
Yeah, I think that seemed somewhat inevitable. It's almost one of those, I'll get maybe the last word, but it's never a good scenario when you hear a player, you know, saying that they're going to just not be available for international selection. I don't love that.
It's part of the issue that Marcelo Bielsa has had, hence that rather powerful press conference after Uruguay lost 5-1 in November to one of the hosts, USA, in which Marcelo Bielsa came out and said, I am toxic. And said, I am toxic to the players. Some go with me and some don't. And the feeling was at that stage that the players were not going with him. Rather salvaged his reputation with that draw against England. Here's Canobio, who started that day at Wembley, the 1-1 draw. Backwards to the angle of the penalty area. The former Manchester United right-back Varela in the pink boots. Actually, the majority of the Uruguay side are in pink boots. Caceres, one of them. To another in Oliveira. Sets off in field, away from three players. Finds Bentancur, rolled neatly to Valverde, on one more to Canobio, just inside the penalty area, on the right, driven cross, out by Al-Kabari, Uruguay corner, and this is much more like it from the South American side.
It's been really good so far in this second half, and Canobio combining really well with Valera early on, and, you know, down this right-hand side, all of a sudden, huge threat.
Uruguay corner. Araujo took all of the corners in the first half for Uruguay. I say all of them, the two that they managed to create. Here's the third, near side the right. In-swinger, headed wide by Viñas, only just. Desperate for the corner, can't believe the corner's not being given. Goal kick, but that couldn't have been too far away. Araujo's corner and Viñas' header wide.
Oh, so close, and he's claiming for a corner. I think it probably is, but I think the actual deflection arguably takes it probably millimetres closer to the goal rather than away from it. And, you know, he's a real threat in the air. I think now that's 3 times the ball's been at the box. He gets his head on it first. Brilliant timing, you know, he's got the stature, but it's how you time the runs, the jump, and, you know, different types of headers as well. He looks a real threat now. He's gone out. I feel a little bit sorry for Darwin Núñez, because I feel he really didn't get the service. But you can really see what Viñas can do in that striker position. Now he's coming off that right-hand side and playing in that central role.
Oh, Marcelo Bielsa, not one for sentiment, but you do have to feel for Darwin Núñez, axed from his club in February, and only lasting 45 minutes of his first game for Uruguay. Federico Viñas, he is called the Tank. He's got a fascinating backstory. He was a meat delivery driver before turning pro. So he has quite the history, he's quite the battler, very tenacious. Bentancur with a rare lapse in midfield, gives it away, but Saudi Arabia do likewise. And here come Uruguay once again. This is a really promising spell for Uruguay. Cross to Viñas, over the bar again. He's had a couple of sights now, has Federico Viñas. Referee blows his whistle, he would have been offside. And we watched the replay to see if that would have been the right decision. I think it probably was. But he is getting closer and closer to this Uruguay equaliser.
He is, and, you know, it's Araujo just behind him who actually is onside. And probably Viñas was never really getting there. You can see he's stretching the header itself, goes way over the bar, nowhere close to the goal. He's always going to go for it though, but, you know, sometimes you got to be aware of who else is around you.
Another shot of Marcelo Bielsa, still sitting with his arms folded, his legs crossed on top of his cool box. 3 years in charge of Uruguay, appointed to great fanfare in 2023. The picture that Uruguay social media team used for his appointment was just an overturned bucket. That's all you need, isn't it, really? You know exactly what that means. Everyone knows. Great start to his life at Uruguay with wins over Argentina and Brazil. It looked great, and then it all went rather downhill with only 1 win in 12 during qualifying. They did qualify relatively easily. Varela, right-hand side of the penalty area. That's well blocked by Moteb El Harbi, and out of play for a Uruguay corner. And this is the Uruguay that we expected to see, and it's a surprise that we've had to wait the best part of 47 minutes to see it.
It is. That was, again, another brilliant move. Valverde is who tries to feed Canobio, or maybe it was Varela, sorry, just not enough in the pass.
Araujo, heavily tattooed left arm, chest pumped over this latest Uruguay corner with his left foot near side the right. Another in-swinger, driven at great speed, headed towards the bottom corner. That was well connected by Oliveira, and the volley from Ugarte is comfortable for Mohamed Al-Awais. Difficult header for Oliveira because he was going the other way and had to generate all his own power.
Yeah, he did probably as well as he could, gets on target. Striker Al Burakan, who's back doing his duties, just chooses to take the instep, clears the danger. Uruguay now, though, looking like the threat we knew they potentially could have.
Saudi Arabia lead this game 1-0, but that lead is under serious threat with Uruguay on top in this second half that is 8 minutes old on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Although the latest Uruguay attack prematurely comes to an end, but Saudi Arabia just cannot get out of their defensive third, and Uruguay are beginning to dominate this game. They need to find this equaliser, however, and if they are going to get the equaliser, you feel it's going to come in this spell when they are now very much on top. They've noticeably increased the rhythm and the tempo, and they move it across on that far side, the left. Araujo, lovely give and go. The ball into the box. Canobio meets it. That's really well headed away. Al-Harbi got just in front of his man. Varela picks up the pieces near side the right. Back in field to Bentancur. The Spurs midfielder turns away from Kanu and then chips the ball towards Varela. That's dealt with on the edge of the box by Saudi Arabia and then hacked, rather desperately hacked clear and out for a Uruguay throw. And you can just hear the crowd now beginning to respond as well.
Yeah, you have to say Uruguay have had an exceptional start to this half. Tempo's much better, but Saudi Arabia defending very, very well. 1v1 there on the back post. Al-Harbi does brilliantly. Centre-back's nice and disciplined. You can see now they've got good shape as they work across the pitch. They're certainly under pressure. I don't think they can sustain it like this. They need to try and change momentum a little bit, but up to now, defending really well.
This was the way that many felt Georgios Donis, the Saudi Arabia head coach recently appointed, would go with Saudi Arabia. Not too much time to prepare, so it was felt that they would build on defensive solidity and try and snatch a goal here and there. That's what they've done in this game so far. Now Canobio, you heard the yell of anguish as he collided with Al-Harbi. Referee had absolutely no interest in that. He's now with his hands suggesting that the ball was won. Canobio points to his right thigh, where there does look to be some suspicious red marks, and now the referee will go over to inspect. It looks a painful one, but we look to the replay, Rachel, to see if it was a bad challenge.
We do. I think the studs... So Al-Harbi's on the ground, he slips, loses his foot as he takes control of the ball, and then he just, as he's on the ground, flicks the ball inside to his teammate. But because he's come from the ground, his boot and his studs are up in there, and it's a follow-through of that flick that in the end it catches the thigh of Canobio. I don't think that's anything. You can see the stud marks on the outside of the thigh, and they will be sore, but it's a glancing blow, I think is the term that the referees use in these moments. So it's not deemed anything that's dangerous or reckless or warrants any kind of review. And I think somewhat the screams and the actions and the hand gestures were all because we were hoping we were going to incite a referee decision that's going to be different to one that was given.
Yes.
But that's fine for me.
As if to reinforce the point, Augustin Canobio then rolled up his shorts over his right leg, so the red stud marks are now very much on display. But yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment, and one that the VAR booth, Rachel, shared, because there was no further action to be taken, no calling of the referee to the screen. So on we play with 57 minutes played on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 1-0 Saudi Arabia lead. Good news from FIFA, a positive weather update. Conditions are improving. Low risk of a match interruption at the moment. We will continue monitoring and updating. And from the radar picture that we can see, it does look like the storm is drifting to the east and out to sea, which is good news for everyone at the Miami Stadium and good news for Uruguay and Saudi Arabia. And what you would say is that is good news for Uruguay, because the last thing they want now, having been on top for the 12 minutes of the second half, is an interruption to this momentum. Canobio just behind Varela. Al-Dosari wins it back for Saudi Arabia, then has to backtrack as the ball to him from Al-Kabari. Wasn't hit with any great quality. I'll run you through the 2-11s incidentally. I've realised I've not done that yet in the second half, but such has been the action in the second half for Uruguay. There hasn't really been an opportunity to do so. There might be now, as Uruguay have this throw on halfway, and with those Uruguay changes, there is a new look to the Uruguayan side, as Ronaldo, R9, original Ronaldo, appears on screen. Diego Forlan, the Uruguay legend, is also here or in Miami. There are a couple of decent strikers in their times, R9 in particular.
Oh, I think Forlan I quite enjoyed watching him play as well.
Former Manchester United striker Diego Forlan. Varella's crossed on this near side, the right. It's another header. Canobio this time still has his right thigh on display for everyone to see. And with his head, he guides the ball over the top of the crossbar from Varella's right wing cross.
Yeah, not the best effort. Tricky one for him, just in that inside pocket. Probably too near the delivery of the ball and an awkward angle. You know, at the pin of the 6-yard box. Would have taken something.
Al-Owais is the Saudi Arabia goalkeeper, has been called into action a good few times in this game, including the second half as Canobio plays it wastefully out of play. Saudi Arabia throw left-back position. A back four of Abdul Hamid Al-Tambakti, the goal scorer Al-Amri, and Moteb on the left-hand side of defence, Moteb Al-Harbi. Then comes Salim Al-Dasawi, the Saudi Arabia captain, on the left wing. Mohamed Abu Ashlamat on the right wing as Uruguay come forward again, crossing to the penalty area that is pretty much blocked at source, and Saudi Arabia have it back, but it's not sticking in midfield. Al-Kabari loses his way. Swung to this near side, the right, where Varela waits on the right wing. There's a player down inside. It's Canobio again. He's got his boot in his hand now. He feels there's a foul in the box. Wave play on. Ugarte hits the post from distance. The left foot shot from Sanabria is well blocked, and this will be hacked clear by Abu Ashlamat, who actually lets it go out of play for a goal kick. Well, it was all happening there. Canobio, who's here, there and everywhere, still has the boot in his hand. He wanted a penalty, and then Manuel Ugarte on the follow-up hits the post from distance.
Yeah, well, let's start with the strike. Ugarte gets it, and it's actually not a great ball into him. He's sort of stretching to get under his control initially with his left foot. Very quickly shifts it, though, then with his right. Best part of 25 yards on the angle. Drills it across the goalkeeper. I think the goalkeeper, otherwise, gets a fingertips onto it, just then glances onto the post, springs back out, and then is well defended in the second.
Well, Mohamed Al-Owais is still not on his feet. Now, this is one of the areas of the game that FIFA are very keen to clamp down on, the tactical timeouts that often come from goalkeepers going down. So there are strict rules now with this. Players are not allowed to go across to the near side to get some tactical instruction when goalkeepers are down. And actually looking at the wide camera, that is not happening on the main, although there are one or two Saudi Arabia players that are drifting dangerously close to the dugouts. You've just seen the Canobio incident again.
Yeah, Al-Kabari just incidentally, sort of as they're just running in stride, one of those ones, the studs of his boot just catch the heel of Canobio, and that just lifts his boot, or his foot out of his boot almost. And I don't know, you get some players that I think would actually say that they think that is a foul. I think it's incidental. I don't think there's much in that. Really unfortunate to give, you know, the ball's not really going into him, it wasn't near him. I don't think that can be given as a penalty, but of course he's going to ask the question, and he seems quite a character. He's come on and made a difference with the ball at his feet, and also in other moments too. He's got a lot to say.
Well, he's made a difference, hasn't he? He has made a difference, as we see another replay of the Ugarte shot that hits the post. I think you're right, Rach. I think Al-Owais did get a little touch on it, then clutches his left leg, looked like cramp, was still not back underway. Saudi Arabia are preparing a change. Nasser Al-Dasawi is about to come on, the Al Hilal centre midfielder who's been in excellent form in the Saudi Pro League. He is one of those players that really does thrive in the big games, and he's been tipped with a move abroad. The rest of the Saudi team, incidentally, Kanu and Al-Kabari in the centre of midfield, and then the two further forward, Masab Al-Jawair, who was very lively in the first half but quiet in the second, and also Ferez Al-Burakan, who has been very quiet full stop. In fact, Masib Al-Jawair's game is now over, and he is being replaced by Nasser Al-Dasawi. And for Uruguay, Muslera now the goalkeeper, Varela, Caceres, Oliveira and Sanabria, who came on for Viña at half-time. A midfield of Arrojo, Bentancur, Ugarte, Valverde, and then Viñas and Canobio, who came on for Darwin Núñez at half-time. 63 minutes played, 5 live from the BBC. It's been really from minute 30 a really good game. It was a slow burner, but now we are witnessing a very good game. And you wonder if that coincides with A, Saudi Arabia leading, so the onus on Uruguay, but B, with the temperature continuing to drop, I wonder if now playing conditions are slightly easier for Saudi Arabia and Uruguay, who are moving forward, the blue shirts of Uruguay. Far side, the left, back to Oliveira, who has to go all the way back to halfway. It wasn't a terrific ball to him. Finds Caceres in the centre circle. Varela wants it on this near side, the right. It goes one beyond him, and Canobio on the right wing. Varela runs in front of him. Canobio spins, turns, plays it to Caceres, smoothly infield to Ugarte, cuts in on his right foot, 35 yards out, centrally positioned, the rather intricate ball, a little too intricate. The isolated Al-Burakan is easily dispossessed. And Rachel, it feels like a question of how long Saudi Arabia can keep this going, because still 25 minutes to play.
I know, and they just can't keep the ball there. An opportunity for Al-Burakan just to try and relieve that pressure. Immediately loses the ball to Oliveira. He defends very well, and that's been the difference, I feel, Uruguay intentionally playing now in Saudi Arabia's half.
Bentancur across to Oliveira, whose cross was blocked, and out it goes. Another shot of Marcelo Bielsa, who's beginning to look a little more happy with life. Oliveira thought about crossing again, instead ambles towards the angle of the penalty area, offloads to the far side. That's a good-looking ball, headed away by Al-Tambakti, and the clearance will be further completed by Abdul Hamid, but it's only temporary reprieve as the blue shirts reload and go again with Valverde, who exchanges passes with the rangy Bentancur. Back out to that left-hand side. In comes the ball, it's low. Araujo, well defended, really well defended. Mohamed Kano, who wants the foul, but doesn't get the foul just outside his own penalty area, and Uruguay can continue to keep the pressure on. Araujo goes down and wins the free kick, and he's writhing around in agony. He does get the free kick. Mohamed Abu Al-Shamad is the guilty party. I don't think it'll be anything more than that.
And I think that's incredibly soft. You know, it's brilliant cover from Al-Shamad. He tracks the run, he comes from the inside, and as he tries to chop the ball inside of him, he just holds his ground, and it's his left leg that just traps the ball. And as you can imagine, Uruguay player realises he's not going to maybe get the ball back, so he just goes down very dramatically. I think that's a very poor decision from the referee.
Maurizio Mariani, who was actually in charge for the Conference League final between Crystal Palace and Rayo Vallecano in Leipzig. He has let that sort of thing go, actually, throughout the game. Uruguay fans, there are many of them standing behind the goal that they're attacking, hoping that this could be their moment. Valverde's free kick is parried away at the front post by Eloise. The volley from Varela teed himself up very nicely, and the block came in from Nasser Al-Dassari, and out of play it goes for a Uruguay throw. Decent free kick, one that you're always hoping there's a little touch on its way through.
Yeah, it can be difficult. No one there does get that touch, as you say, and I think when someone does, that's when, you know, often it's the goalkeeper then mistimes it or hesitates, doesn't quite come cleanly. Alois, though, does really well, two in the wall, whips round them. There's someone right in front of him. I can't quite see it. Abdul Hamid, yeah, just jumps, and that makes it really awkward. He doesn't connect. Goalkeeper does well.
Saudi Arabia suddenly emerge with it on the edge of the Uruguay box. They still lead 1-0. Saudi Arabia, if they can get a second on the counter-attack, it would put them in a very good position, not only in this match, but in the group as well, given Spain and Cape Verde drew 0-0 earlier in Group H. The first of our commentaries on BBC Radio 5 Live, followed by another entertaining game between Belgium and Egypt that finished 1-1, and this has been good so far as well. Took a while to get going, but has been very enjoyable, especially this second half. Still, Saudi Arabia lead 1-0 on 5 Live. We are midway through the second half, so the next break in play, there will be the drinks break, and it'll be a well-timed drinks break for Saudi Arabia, not so for Uruguay, who are moving the ball smoothly from left to right. Valverde's on this right wing, angle of the box, great ball in, flashes across goal, no one gets a touch. Viñas front post, Ugarte centrally, Araujo back post, it evaded them all, and out of play for a goal kick.
Another wicked delivery coming from down this right-hand side again. And, you know, Saudi Arabia have actually gone into a back five, and I think that's helped them at times to just limit the ease in which they were able to get into wide areas and deliver. That time, it was Valverde, as you say, that created that extra overload, just delivered it from the half space. Sometimes makes it even more challenging to actually, for both, you know, defensively, you've less time to deal with it. From attacking perspective, half second as well, less time to actually get into the position where you want to then arrive and finish it. And in that occasion, everybody missed it, went right through.
And it was the final moments of the third quarter, with Saudi Arabia still leading this game by 1-0, 5 Live and BBC Sounds. 90 minutes away, just under, from our next live commentary. Iran, New Zealand. Mike Maine along with Leon Osman in Group G. Second game in Group G after that Belgium-Egypt draw. And then 2 games to bring you to today, later on today. France-Senegal in Group I is an 8 o'clock kickoff, and Iraq-Norway also in Group I, 11 o'clock. Both games on 5 Live. And World Cup breakfast at lunchtime for us, 1 o'clock tomorrow. Steve Crossman in a New York City diner. It was a great listen yesterday. He was in good form. They were all in good form. Guillaume Balaguer was there, a couple of American journalists as well, Neda Manua. They discussed all sorts, including this evening's game. Stuart Dallas was on to give his informed opinion on Marcelo Bielsa, having played under Bielsa at Leeds United. And we'll have the same again later on today at lunchtime between 1 and 3 before those 2 live games. And not just the football, the Women's T20 World Cup continues later today, and England are back in action on Tuesday following that very comprehensive victory over Sri Lanka at Edgbaston. They're down at the Rose Bowl later today to take on Ireland, and that is a 6:30 start on Sports Extra. 20 minutes to play. Probably can call that 25 minutes once the drinks break is over, and 25 minutes for Uruguay to try and find an equaliser as Marcelo Bielsa readies Nicolas de la Cruz, the Flamengo attacking midfielder. Another one with a remarkable story. He was told a few years ago that he would never play football again after a severe knee injury. His private doctor said in a private memo to his club that I'm afraid it's bad news, he won't play again. But here he is coming on in the World Cup. He defied all the odds, worked very hard to get back to full fitness, and he's coming on to win his 35th cap, and it's Manuel Ugarte who is being replaced. So Ugarte, more of a defensive midfielder, is being replaced by Nicolas de la Cruz, who is much better going forward with 3 goals and 3 assists in qualifying.
An attacking change, they need that. You know, we're getting to the stage, you've 20 minutes, you get to get yourself a goal. And I think Ugarte, probably first half was fairly conservative, not really required, didn't have much to do. All of the balls around that central area, it was all very nice. Despite the fact then obviously Saudi Arabia did get that goal, but second half I think it's been much better, much more alive, played a few more forward passes, obviously just had that effort off the post, but more of a tactical decision I think rather than a performance decision, that one.
Back underway, long goal kick from El Owais. Canobio's on the floor again with his hair in a tight bob tied behind him. I think he's pulled his shorts back down now, yes he has. White wristband on his left arm, all-action player, and he certainly has been involved since coming on at half-time to replace Darwin Nunez. On the ball again now, Augustin Canobio looking to run at Abdul Hamid, inside to Valverde, lovely feet from the Real Madrid star, into the box, right foot cross, blocked at source, will win the corner, uses his body well, another Uruguay corner, thought about taking it quickly, did Valverde, and I think he will be staying in position. Araujo has taken all of the corners so far, but Valverde swings this one in and very nearly turned into his own goal by Ferres Al-Buraken. Well, he's barely been involved, but that would have been an awful moment. His header hits the side netting. Valverde reloads, another corner, right-footed, outswinger, up go the head. Saudi Arabia got there first. De La Cruz, his first involvement in the game, is to play it sensibly back to Sanabria, back to De La Cruz again. His right-footed ball in is over everyone and out for a Saudi Arabia goal kick. And Al Buracan can breathe a huge sigh of relief.
He can. You know, he actually does well. It's his job in that front area to attack the ball. See, Canobio's just behind him. You'll know that, and you got to do that in that front post. You have to step forward, which sometimes makes your starting position tricky, and you can understand from that example why, because as you do that, if you get it wrong, it can very easily fly off the corner of your forehead, as that did, and it spun into the side netting.
He's on the floor now, is Ferris Al Buracan from that resulting goal kick. He was challenged. He's clutching his left ankle and looks in a little bit of grief. Agustin Canobio, surprise, surprise, is now arguing with the assistant referee. Was he involved? No, he wasn't. It was the way he landed more than anything else, jumping with Caceres.
Yeah, that's actually really sore. You see, it's just Caceres just lands on his Achilles, the back of his heel, and almost, not just that, you know, that would be sore enough in its own right, but it just almost jars the ankle. He's up now and actually looks to be walking fairly comfortable, but a challenge like that, not malicious again. It's not been a malicious game at all, but just a competitive duel there. Just an unfortunate one when the defender stands on you as you both come down back to the ground.
Was having a fairly animated discussion with referee Maurizio Mariani, who has his surname very neatly stenciled into the back of his pink shirt. Will be a nice memento for any of the referees refereeing in this World Cup. Caceres with some defending to do. Al Buracan is there to put some pressure on him. Canobio plays a rather haphazard ball back to him in a position they didn't really want to receive it. And as such, Saudi Arabia have possession on this near side, the left, and the two Al Dasawis on the pitch, Nasser and Salem, exchange passes, but that's the end of that attack fairly quickly. Bentancur, nice change of feet into the centre circle. De La Cruz wanted far more time than he got, and actually wins on the face of it. Quite a fortunate free kick. It looked like he dallied a little too long there.
That and a combination, the pass needed to be much firmer into him. You know, trying to break quickly, and it was just behind him. He had to take a touch, and it was a poor touch, and often that happens. You know, a poor ball leads to the next action being poor as well. And yeah, as you say, a lifeline that they got the free kick.
BBC Radio 5 Live at the World Cup 2026. And in Miami, it's Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0 in Group H. But Uruguay have been much better in the second half. Canobio delivers dangerously to the back post, dealt with by Saudi Arabia, picked up in the centre of midfield by Oliveira, and Uruguay can start again. 58% possession for Uruguay, but they haven't been able to do a great deal with it. They've certainly had moments. Eloise with a decent save from Viñas quite early on in the second half, but nothing really since then. Another move breaks down on this near side, the right, for the blue shirts of Uruguay. Nasser El Dassawi. That's a poor clearance from Al Harbi, but luckily for him, there were several Saudi Arabia players on hand to turn the clearance into a good ball. And Salim Al Dassawi, though, was always second favourite for that. Careful defending back to Muslera, and Uruguay can start again.
Yeah, almost a good move, although elements of fortune. Saudi Arabia, it was a frantic clearance that ended up being a not bad pass.
Valverde dinks a lovely looking ball over to Sanabria. That was hit with such nonchalance from the Real Madrid midfielder. Noticeable now that Uruguay are trying to involve the Real Madrid star at every given opportunity. He's peeled away outside the box, looking for an angle to get the ball. Bentancur, that's exactly what he was trying to do. Bentancur, though, the pass was errant, skips beyond Valverde and out for a Saudi Arabia goal kick with 13 minutes to play.
And we're just getting a shot of Viñas. I think he's struggling. We're seeing that, yeah, his calves have gone into cramp, and he looks like he's really suffering. And I think sometimes when you get to that point, it's not going to shift likely. So he might be the next one to make way. I think in this state, you need your striker to be mobile and able to move. She's walking at the moment.
So we'll keep a keen eye on the Uruguay bench. In fact, they are readying Brian Rodriguez, who is a winger by trade. Plays his football in Mexico, but made a good name for himself playing in Denmark. He's about to come on, and that may well be for Federico Viñas. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 0. Saudi Arabia, who have a terrible World Cup record. They have the highest losing percentage rate of any team in World Cup history. But they did beat Argentina in the World Cup in Qatar 4 years ago. Cannobio across the penalty area, back to Varela on this near side, the right angle of the box, onto his left foot. There's no one at the back post, so Viñas has to move away from his centre-forward position to keep Uruguay moving forward. Another ball into the box, another Cannobio header is missed, another Saudi Arabia header is won, and another counter-attack can maybe begin, but Al Dassawi is robbed by Bentancur, and the ball forward to Cannobio lacked the required accuracy, but that's not a great clearance by Altam Bakhti. Straight back to Uruguay. Bentancur square, De La Cruz wants to shoot, does shoot, left-footed, well blocked by Nasser Al Dassawi on the edge of the penalty area. That was travelling, and Mohamed Al-Awais may well have been forced into a save. Guillermo Varela has it back in the centre of midfield for Uruguay, and they come again. They have probed, they have patiently probed throughout this second half, but now they're running out of time. 10 minutes to play on 5 Live in BBC Sounds. The ball in again, that's much better. Viñas with a header saved, the rebound tapped in by Araujo, and Uruguay are level. Finally their patience pays off, and Maxi Araujo arriving late to tap into the corner, and Uruguay are level with 10 minutes to play in Miami. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 1.
Well, what a fantastic finish. It's a great effort, a great chance to start with. The header is well saved, but as it bounces out to the left-hand side, Araujo just arrives and it bounces quite high, so it's taken on the volley then as it comes back to him. And I think it probably beats the goalkeeper at the near post. It's hard to tell in the first angle that we saw of it. Certainly onside. And it does go in and inside of him. It's sort of awkward. I'm not quite sure what he's doing on the second time around, but it doesn't really matter. I think we get to credit the goal, or the quality of the goal. It's hit with pace. It does go in the near side, just in the inside of the post. But it's hit with power. Lovely side foot finish. And Uruguay have deserved that. It was a brilliant header initially from Viñas, heads it down. I think it's the bounce that means the goalkeeper has to parry it. Parries it wide like he did earlier. We gave him credit for that. He's not going to get credit for that second one. Brilliant finish though.
No, I suspect there will be questions asked about Mohamed Al-Awais for firstly the parry from Viñas' header, and then Maxi Araujo's shot squirming through him at the front post. His 4th goal for his country, cap number 29. He's actually a left-back for his club, but he plays left wing for his country. Not only James Rodriguez provided more assists in South American qualifying, it wasn't an assist for Araujo, it was a goal, and it was a mightily important goal in the context of Group H. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 1. Abdullah Al-Amri in the first half for Saudi Arabia, but Uruguay have turned it around in the second half, and now they have all the momentum. Cannobio's on the right of the penalty area. Varela wants it short. Cannobio uses Varela, right-hand edge, or he couldn't quite control that as well as he might have done, so the pace is rather lost from what was a promising-looking Uruguay attack. Bentancur, square, centrally. Oliveira keeps the move going from right to left. There's an opportunity for Sanabria to shoot, deflected. Skips across the penalty area and out for a Uruguay corner. There were a couple of changes in the midst of all of that, and actually the goal scorer is off. Maxi Araujo, having scored the goal, has been taken off. Brian Rodriguez is on for him, and for Saudi Arabia, Mohamed Abu Ashlamat is off, and Nawaf Bouchal for Al Nassr is on. So Maxi Araujo having scored the goal, job done, go and sit on the bench. De La Cruz, corner, free header, front post, over the bar. Caceres met it well, but always going over. The masked Sebastian Caceres, and it stays 1-1.
I think just going back to the goal, it was almost one of those seamless transitions where the end of his celebration just took him onto the subs bench pretty much.
You may as well stay here.
Yeah, of course, Uruguay now will feel they can get the goal, so nice and swift in the substitutions as well. Get the game back alive and running.
Well, Brian Rodriguez was ready before the goal went in. And there would be some head coaches that would say, go and sit back down. Here go Uruguay again, brilliant effort from range. Brian Rodriguez, the aforementioned Rodriguez, who's yet to score for Uruguay, very nearly did there. Fine effort with his right foot, always going away from goal. couple of yards wide, but really well hit.
Really well hit, but slightly underneath him, and in those ones, he's left-hand side of the goal. You just want to almost use your instep a bit more and just get the whip as it comes back in at the far post. Because it was caught under him, he ends up sort of just driving it in a fairly straight line, just about a yard wide.
That would have been some introduction. Brian Rodriguez, 6th cap for Uruguay, still looking for his first Uruguay goal. What does Saudi Arabia do here? They have been second best. They've almost been third best, really. They've been that far behind the game in this second half. Barely had a touch of the ball inside Uruguayan territory. But I think if you'd offered them 1-1 before the game, they would have taken it. And 1-1 is the score on 5 Live and BBC Sounds with 6 minutes to play in Miami. Earlier, Spain 0, Cape Verde 0 in Group H. And if this was to stay 1-1, then really it's anyone's group going into the final 2 games. Iran, New Zealand to follow us. In 1 hour and 10 minutes, Mike Maine and Leon Osman on the night shift to bring us Iran, New Zealand in Group G after Belgium drew with Egypt earlier on. Egypt taking the lead, and then an own goal giving Belgium the equaliser. Is there to be a winner in this game in Miami? Al Dassawi wins the ball illegally. Bentancur clutching his left shin. And that will be a free kick to Uruguay, which they take quickly. So both Bentancur and Al Dassawi didn't really have too much time to argue about that. Ball on the far side, the left, as Rodriguez steps forward. Lovely ball. Sanabria to the byline, dinks the cross in. Numbers here. Out comes the goalkeeper with an assertive punch with 2 gloves. It was a good punch as well, albeit Varela picks it up again for Uruguay. With his blonde hair glinting in the floodlights now as darkness descends in Miami. Canobio, great ball, flashes across goal. Played back into the penalty area. Viñas was waiting to pounce. Saudi Arabia clear. The quality of the Canobio ball was excellent. Right in that corridor of uncertainty, but no one there to capitalise.
Oh, again, and it's been the wide areas where they've really progressed well in the second half, Uruguay. Despite Saudi Arabia dropping into that back 5, they've not managed to handle those 1v1s and 2v1s as the overload comes on the outside.
On the ball now, Saudi Arabia, with just over 4 minutes to play. That's nice football between the 2 centre-forwards, Al Burakan and Al Dassawi. And now it's with Al Harbi on this near side, the left. The 1-2, Al Harbi's into the penalty area. Low ball across. Clearance not great. Still there for Saudi Arabia. Oh, the touch on the edge of the box was poor. If Mohamed Kanu's touch was better, there may well have been a shot on goal. He's on the ball now from range. Right foot shot blocked. Abdul Hamid, he will go for goal. No, he won't. Threatened to shoot. Now he shoots. It's a great effort as well. Muslera watches it over his crossbar. Well, there's a warning jab from Saudi Arabia. We're not done yet. Couple of efforts there, and Abdul Hamid's effort was only just over the bar.
It was, and that chance came out of nowhere. You know, you think they're going to just take the draw. They look dead on their feet. There's even just now, you know, can barely walk, but that's the right back who's ended up edge of the box, driving across, gets a shot away. It was a decent effort. Probably goalkeeper wasn't really ever worried about it.
How much ambition will there be from both of these nations to get an opening game win? 1-1 on 5 Live, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. If anyone is to get a winner, you'd fancy it to be Uruguay, as Rodriguez to Sanabria, deflected cross, Uruguay corner, and they, oh, what's the referee given here? Offside. The flag has gone up. Sanabria waves his arm in frustration. Was it the right decision? We'll have a look at the replay.
I think left back's playing him on this near side to us.
Yeah. I think he can be rightly aggrieved about that decision, but the flag went up very quickly. And Mohamed Al-Awais, the Saudi Arabian goalkeeper, is taking as much time as he dares over this free kick on the edge of the penalty area. Delivers downfield. Al Burakan's header to no one in particular. Drops out of play for a Uruguay throw. Left back position. 2 minutes to play. If it stays this way, is there an argument to suggest that both sides actually will be fairly happy with a draw?
I think probably on the state of the game, as well as what it means for the group, yes. I think probably both sides have had one fairly decent half and one fairly poor half, shall we say. So I think when you play 90 minutes and you've not done this second half, especially Uruguay have been very good, but Saudi Arabia have been extremely poor in possession. Defensively, they've been excellent.
Uruguay, though, are still probing. 90 seconds of normal time to play. Brian Rodriguez, another heavily tattooed Uruguay, another brilliant ball in. They are really testing Saudi Arabia with these wicked deliveries. In on his right foot. Sped across the 6-yard box, cleared by Al-Tambakti, who's on the floor and wants some treatment. It will be a corner eventually when the referee allows play to resume. Hassan Al-Tambakti is okay, conscious that if he goes off and gets treatment, then Saudi Arabia will be down to 10 players. In comes the corner. Oh, Viñas was loading up for a powerful header, and it was very well taken off his head just before he could head on goal. Uruguay readying another substitution. In comes another cross. There goes Oliveira's header. This will be the goalkeeper's. Decides to punch. He was under a little bit of pressure. To be fair to him, it was a very good punch, and Fares Al-Burakan can tidy up a decent-looking clearance that's turned into a very good clearance, because Varela's header is out of play for a Saudi Arabia throw. Here comes the change. Rodrigo Aguirre is coming on for Federico Viñas, who Rachel has done very well to last as long as he has. Bear in mind, he was looking a little forlorn a good 10-15 minutes ago.
Yeah, he did. I thought probably wasn't going to be able to continue, but the moments after that, he burst in and kept the ball alive when it went beyond everyone on that far side. So obviously did manage to just stretch that off and cover a few more meters.
And so Rodrigo Aguirre, out-and-out striker, comes on. The Tigres forward, 31 years old, only made his debut last year as a 30-year-old, so a fairly late developer. Can he win the game for Uruguay? 7 minutes of additional time at the end of this game in Miami, and we are into those 7 minutes now. Saudi Arabia moving forward on their left wing. 2 more changes being readied by Georgios Donis. Al-Dasawi rather loosely plays it forward, rather hopefully plays it forward, rather meekly plays it forward, and Uruguay have it back with Rodriguez, full of running, once again backing the Saudi Arabian defenders into the penalty area. De La Cruz with the effort, great save, Alois. Another one straight at him, but another one that needed saving. De La Cruz hit that really well on the instep. Uruguay deliver into the penalty area. The downwards header from the recently introduced Aguirre, hacked away by Saudi Arabia, and they are very much hanging on now. Varela, 5 yards in from the touchline. We can see the shadows of the players from the floodlights now. Varela delivers into the back post. It's another terrific cross. Abdul Hamid speed turns it away, and Uruguay have the 9th corner of the game.
I mean, some brilliant deliveries, but I just think defensively Saudi Arabia have been excellent. Twice there, Abdul Hamid on the right-hand side defensively, Al-Harbi on this left-hand side. 2 balls, one after the other. They both do the discipline work. They stay with the runner, they get goal side, they make sure they get to the ball first, and that's really hard to do in these stages. A number of deliveries come into the box, and they'll be so disappointed they have conceded, because I think defensively, in terms of those areas, the distances, the shape, it's been very cohesive between the lines and the players. I think it's been very, very good, but it's one each.
Spoken like a true centre-half.
Not many people appreciate that stuff.
Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, making a treble change, and this is for game management reasons, you suggest, more than anything else. So Ali Lajami is on, Abdullah Al-Hamdan is also on, and so is Ala Al-Hijji, all relatively defensive players. They've switched off from the corner. Valverde, great save, Alois. That was very nearly Valverde's moment. The corner taken short. Valverde saw his moment. Right foot shot that was arrowing into the bottom corner, and Mohamed Alois had to dive full stretch to his left to keep it out.
That is a sensational save. It's through the legs of 2 Saudi Arabian players in front of him. It's drilled low, it's flat on the grass. It's so difficult for goalkeepers at times to get down. It's a strong hand.
De La Cruz from the resulting corner. There's the header at the front post, and wide it goes from Sebastian Caceres, and Saudi Arabia can breathe again. This was a wonderful save because he sees it late.
he does see it late, but it comes at pace, and it's because it's just flat to the grass. Like it barely bobbles up. It's a brilliant save from the goalkeeper, Alois.
Marcelo Bielsa, sitting on his cool box, just slaps his knee as if there's a fly that's annoying him. It didn't really seem too perturbed about that. Mind you, when you're Marcelo Bielsa and you're 70, you've seen it all, haven't you? So
yes.
he was mildly annoyed by that rather than really frustrated. Still Uruguay come forward. He's got, or Uruguay have, 3 minutes, so there's still a fair chunk of time. Good challenge by Al Amri. His goal for Saudi Arabia feels an awfully long time ago. Uruguay throw level with the edge of the Saudi Arabia box. Sanabria throws it backwards. Rodriguez to Bentancur. The Tottenham midfielder to Sebastian Caceres, wearing the mask. Ponytail Cannobio. Varela's on the overlap. Varela's ignored. Infield to De La Cruz in the pink boots, pointing the way for Caceres. De La Cruz wanted it to go backwards, but time is of the essence now for Uruguay if they are to become the first Group H winner of the World Cup. Here's Valverde. So much of the play goes through the Uruguayan talisman, and he goes for goal from range. It may have been a shot across as well, because there was a man at the back post lurking, Aguirre. Valverde with a loose shot from, well, a loose piece of defending from Saudi Arabia. Valverde with the right foot shot, and it's yet another Uruguayan corner. This the 11th of the game for them.
There's good delivery from these wide areas. And another one here.
2 minutes of stoppage time remain. Brian Rodriguez over this corner, far side the left, into the heart of the penalty area. Another one dealt with by Saudi Arabia. Ambitious volley from Varela, who then goes in for the challenge with Al Hamdan. Thought that might have been a free kick for Saudi Arabia. Referee not interested, and Uruguay play on. Did look suspiciously foully, but we play on. Caceres suddenly on the right wing. Is that a foul? He runs into Nasser Al-Dassari. No free kick. Instead, it's a throw for Uruguay. But Augustin Cannobio is over. We tick into the final 90 seconds in Miami. 5 Live and BBC Sounds. Iran, New Zealand to come in an hour's time. You've made it through to 1 a.m. You may as well see it through to 4 a.m. now. Ball on the left of the penalty area. Right foot shot, Rodriguez. Alois parries yet another one behind. Yet another Uruguay corner from yet another long-range effort.
Yeah, he's just demonstrating he couldn't really see again, so he does well.
Short corner, Valverde receives, offloads to the angle of the penalty area, gets it back from Rodriguez, through to De La Cruz, low ball in, Cannobio waiting to turn home. Al Amri is in the way once again. More excellent Saudi Arabian defending, and they've got 40 seconds now to hold on. Another corner to repel. Short it goes. De La Cruz. Saudi Arabia now wise to the short corner to Valverde, so they've blocked that particular avenue off. It goes centrally to Sanabria. Thought about shooting, thought better of it. Rodriguez spaced across. Another good one. They're queuing up at the back post. Well headed away, and then booted further clear. Out of play for a Uruguay throw midway through the Saudi half. 10 seconds of added time to play. This has to go forward now. Sanabria, fine ball out to the left wing, picked up by Rodriguez, running into the penalty area. He's got an overlapping Valverde, who lifts the cross in. That's well defended by Bouchal. Out for a Uruguay throw. Will there be time to take it? We have played the 7 minutes in Miami. There will be time to take it. This has to be the last action. Uruguay have to go forward here. Otherwise, the referee may well bring proceedings to an end. And what a good second half it's been. Cannobio does go backwards. This has to go into the box. Caceres delivers. It's over everyone's head. Clearance only as far as De La Cruz. Centrally positioned. Rodriguez on the left. His ball was weakly hit. Out for a corner. Is there time to take it? There is, according to the referee. And he's saying to the Saudi Arabian players, because of the triple change you made in stoppage time, I'm adding extra time on.
That is the rules.
Rodriguez, corner, into the 6-yard box. Saudi Arabia, another head meets it. Sanabria on the half volley towards goal. There is the full-time whistle. It finishes as a draw in Miami. And what an entertaining second half it's been. a slow burner, but it really ignited with Saudi Arabia's opening goal 4 minutes prior to half-time. Abdullah Al-Amri, but it was all Uruguay in the second half. They created several decent chances, and with 10 minutes to play, Maxi Araujo finally took one with Alois parrying, and there was Araujo to volley into the net, which means both games in Group H have finished as draws. Spain 0, Cape Verde 0. Uruguay have got the draw. Saudi Arabia 1, Uruguay 1.
Well, that second half flew by. I think finally we had some intensity, didn't we? And Uruguay will feel probably a little bit disappointed given how the game ended, that they couldn't find a way to win it. A number of times they threw that ball into the box with good delivery. As we touched on, I thought defensively, between Al-Tambakti, Al-Amri, two full-backs who were willing to really do the defensive discipline work. I thought it was exceptional. Alois came up with some big saves. Probably the best saves yet to make were actually shots from the edge of the box, because his defenders in front of him dealt with everything really that came in the air. But I think probably in the whole one each is fair. Saudi Arabia took their opportunities. It all came in the first half. Second half they tried to hold on. It was always going to be a big ask, I think, given how defensively they set themselves up. But a good game, I would say.
A very good game indeed. Thank you, Rachel. Enjoyed it. No doubt see you in the middle of the night sometime again soon.
Indeed.